You want me to do what? Good morning. I'm at-large council member Anita Bonds, chairperson of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. The time is 10:03 a.m. on Thursday, October 19th, 2023. We're meeting in person and virtually via Zoom to convene a public roundtable on job training programs in the District of Columbia. This hearing is being streamed and recorded on the committee's YouTube channel named EAL Committee. It is also available on cable channel 13, the DC Council's website, and on www.entertainment.dc.gov. I ask that today's public witnesses please keep your remarks to 5 minutes to allow everyone the opportunity to be heard. Your entire written testimony will be a part of the record, so if you have not submitted it, please submit it to the council's hearing management system or email it to CEAL, that's CEAL @dccouncil.gov. The district government supports residents looking to begin and advance in meaningful careers through a multitude of job training programs, including apprenticeships, on-the-job training, vocational and skill training, and subsidized employment opportunities for youth. These job training programs are largely organized by the district's lead workforce employment agencies, and that is the Department of Employment Services, commonly referred to as DOES, and the Workforce Investment Council, referred to as the WIC, WIC, and the Department of Human Resources, DCHR. They're under the coordination and support provided by the Deputy Mayor for Education. Collaboration between these lead agencies and our education system is a key component of our workforce development system. And it is critically important that these programs both provide residents with the tools necessary to forge successful careers while connecting them with stable employment. This roundtable gives the committee the opportunity to examine the programs within these agencies and to discuss their collective progress towards expanding a high-quality portfolio of training services that improve employment outcomes for district residents. We're also focused on understanding workforce standards for training programs, guaranteed job placement, and both virtual, remote, and remote in-person training opportunities. And we'll begin with just a quick review of the Department of Employment Services. It is the lead labor and workforce development agency for the district, with a vast array of programs and services available to both current employees and to job seekers. Through its Workforce Development Division, Division of State Initiatives, and Federal Program Bureaus, DOES offers training programs and services to ensure that district residents have the skills and qualifications to gain meaningful, stable, and well-paying employment. In addition to job and skill training programs for adults, DOES creates workforce development opportunities for teenagers and young adults through its Office of Youth Programs, and oversees apprenticeships in the district through its Office of Apprenticeship Information and Training. At this time, I just want to we'll have to change the order of our witnesses today. But first, I'll acknowledge any of my colleagues that may be on with us here at the council. Okay, we're soloing it today, so we'll move forward. Let's see. So this slight change in the order of today's witnesses will allow the DOES director, Ms. Morris Hughes, to present her testimony first. Because of her department's massive schedule today, she has one of their key things she has to get done today. And she'll be able, however, to come back and talk with us later as we make follow-up questions available to her. And so, Ms. Hughes, we are prepared to swear you in if you. She's not. All right, we're just going to take slight delay, just 1 second. Well, audience community, we had a last minute change because we received a preponderance of public witnesses, and we had a drop dead deadline for Ms. Hughes's testimony, and then she can come back this afternoon. So we thought it was wise to bring her on first, but looks like we might want to go ahead and do some of our public witnesses. That's a snafu. All right. We will call, do we have public witnesses? All right, okay, we can do that. All right, we are going to follow the, we are able to follow the published agenda for our public witnesses. And we'll see if Mr. Is Eric? All right, we'll start with Mr. Eric Weaver, the National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens, and then Cedric Thompson with We Strategies, and Rachel Burnell, the Chart Academy, and Alicia Everhart, a public witness. That's our first public witness panel. All right. All right, we'll start with Mr. Thompson. He is on the screen. Mr. Thompson, we'll receive your testimony now.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah. All right, I'll get started. Good afternoon, Councilmember Bonds and your colleagues here on this committee for Executive Administration and Labor. I would like to thank you for having this hearing to discuss job training programs, and to also thank you for this opportunity to provide a testimony on a much needed subject. So I will forward the full testimony to the committee later today. But I wanted to start by just saying I'm Cedric Thompson. I am the CEO and founder of We Strategies and the Chart Academy. And we've been doing work in DC for the past 6 years. And we work with youth development programs. We work with out-of-school youth. We work with returning citizens. We've worked with a number career changers, a number of DC residents who are looking to enter the job market or who are looking to increase their career aspects. So the work that my organization does in DC is basically creating opportunities for job seekers to secure what we call quality employment, so that they're able to provide and to receive a life that they so well deserve for themselves and their families. We do this by leveraging a program that we call RISE. And RISE stands for Reaching Independence Through Successful Employment. And we know that in order to reach independence, job seekers must have access to a job that offers a life-sustaining wage, that is a part of a career pathway, and that provides benefits that enhances the quality of life. And given these demands, we have undergirded our programs with the principles of empowerment, skill development, and community building. And under the leadership of Dr. Morris Hughes, we have had an opportunity to work on a number of initiatives that support DC residents with entering or rejoining the workforce. And we've developed and carried out 2 programs this past year with the Division of State Initiatives. One of the programs was the Job Readiness Training Program that led to job placement. And then one of the programs was a digital literacy certification program to build the digital literacy skills of residents. And so at the same time that we are doing these direct services to job seekers, we were also involved with we led a community of practice for community-based organizations who were funded under the East of the River grant program through DOES's Office of Youth Programs. And in this community of practice, we really begin to work together and to form a coalition across organizations, because what we recognize is that the needs are great for jobs, for many of the job seekers we work with, and that job training is necessary, but that there are also other areas that we as training providers must be able to address if successful employment is going to be the outcome. And so with that, I want to close by just sharing a couple areas that I want this committee to consider moving forward. One is that we certainly need to sustain the momentum and the strides that DOES has made to provide funding to job training providers who are so well connected to the communities. Many of these community-based organizations who are providing job training understand the communities that they're serving in. They have, relationships, and they are able to offer supports that go beyond just the job training programs. And I think that those impacts need to be continued. And certainly we need to find a way to avoid disruption. And then the other thing I want to add here is that training providers, as we've learned in the community of practice, is that there are various areas that we need to continue to grow our capacity in. And so making funding available to DOES to award grants for capacity building, to also continue to award those providers with the resources they need to stay active in their communities would be necessary. And so I just want to leave with this, is that we know that Black DC residents need tangible and immediate employment resources, and job training is one of those resources, but it has to be complemented by a number of wraparound support services. And it is my belief that DOES is the agency best positioned to support the job seekers who are DC residents through the training providers who have been working with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. And I believe we have Rachel Bernal from the Chart Academy with us. Yes.
Good morning, Councilmember Bowles and your colleagues who are serving on this much needed committee doing this work in the Committee of Executive Administration and Labor. I definitely would love to thank you all for giving us this space to use our voice and to hear us discuss training program opportunities and provide this testimony. I've already forwarded my written testimony, but if any additional details are needed, happy to share. My name is Rochelle Bernadelle, and I'm here representing the Chart Academy. We've been working with youth, as Mr. Cedric Thompson shared, in the out-of-school space and adult learners for over the last 6 years. And so the work that our organization does really empowers job seekers to secure a quality and viable job for their families and for their future generations. And to echo Mr. Thompson and how he shared about our RISE program, we created a program called RISE, Reaching Independence Successfully Through Employment. We know that reaching independence is an interdependent work. It involves wraparound services, it involves community providers, and involves the partnership of administrations like yours. We believe that our program must be undergirded by the following principles of empowerment, community development, and skill development. Under the leadership of Dr. Morris Hughes, we saw ample opportunities to support the various needs of DC residents to enter and re-enter the job force. We carried out 2 programs, as Mr. Thompson shared, through the Division of State Initiatives that supported over 200 DC residents in moving towards job placement and earning digital literacy certifications. I wanted to take a moment to outline a few details of that RISE program. It was designed to get residents connected to employment through a human-centered design model. We provided residents with labor market statistics that empower them to be decision makers of their own future. As they transition out of the last week of the program, they assess their own transferable skills that could be applied at work, at home, and in life. As a result of this work, we exceeded job placement expectations, and now we're trending towards meeting 90-day job retention goals. During the last couple of years of this work, we heard and observed residents who were job seeking with us were also experiencing barriers and navigating some of the same technologies that are designed to empower their journey, placing them at an inherent disadvantage in their job progression. In response, we offered a digital literacy certification that served over 100 residents, resulting in over 75 participants earning at least one certification. We've also integrated a substantial constant contact once participants graduate from our programs. Alumni support is an integral part of our culture to support them in navigating challenging systemic barriers. Just yesterday in our office, we provided a lobby writing workshop to clients and gave hands-on multimedia job shadowing opportunities. You'll hear from some of those same clients testifying in other panels today. But the number of voices that can be included in spaces just like this, both virtually and in rooms just like you are, will cease if funding is not restored. In fact, as the fiscal year was ending in September, our team completed intake for over 100 residents, but due to funding delays, we've been unable to serve them. They are constantly connecting with us via email, phone, and text message with unanswered questions and ready to receive services. On behalf of the communities that I work with and continue to work for, I'm here to ask for funding to be restored to avoid the disruptions this lack of funding has caused DC residents. Thank you for the work that you continue to do, and we're excited to continue partnering with you, Councilmember Bonds, and your Councilmember colleagues. We appreciate your time today and your consideration of these matters and the solutions that will come forth from these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you both. I believe this is the first public panel that we have. If I could just kind of understand, have a conversation with both of you. Can you give me what is your number of those, you call it your intake, those that applied and were accepted for your program during just the past fiscal year 23?
Okay, sure. And Rachel, you can help me on this. So we had two programs we're running this year, and with both of those programs, we could serve 100 persons in each program. So we met those numbers. But a part of our intake process, everyone may not be able to start given the cohorts. People have different issues. And so what has happened is, based upon availability and based upon the commitments that others had, there are over 100 people who are still in our pipeline who are looking for opportunities for job training. So I would say the numbers would have to be well over 300 for the year.
I'm sorry, your number again for your intake, the numbers that applied?
I said well over 300.
300, okay. And of the 300, how many actually participated in your programming in FY23?
Yeah. So yeah. 200. We had 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
what was the cost per participant? Your annual cost per participant?
Yeah, so it varied. So the JRT program that had job placement had more services involved in it. And so I think that cost was about $4,500 for the year per participant.
Okay.
And then I think for digital literacy, it included they received a computer. And so I think that cost may have been about $2,000 per participant.
That was 2,000. Okay.
2,000. So that included, certification exams as well as the actual device.
Okay. So how many participated in the JRT program?
So over 8 cohorts, we serviced 103. I think it was about 103 was the final
103.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And of that, how many completed the program?
Rochelle, you probably have those specific numbers, but I think it's about 95 or something like that.
Yes, so I believe it was over 90 completed, and completion meaning they finished the entire 6 weeks of the program. And then most of those participants stayed on with us to receive additional alumni support job coaching services.
Okay, so you think it was over 90 or it was 95 or?
It was over.
A number?
It was 95, I believe. If
I
recall correctly, yes.
Okay, and so the 95 that completed the 6 weeks, how many received job placement?
Yes.
And is that something you do, or is that I get my, I go through the training and then I find my job myself?
Yeah. So no, we actually help with job placement. And I think at DOES, I believe we have to, there are a couple levels to how they score this down. So we were supposed to have at least 75 people complete the program. So we met and exceeded that target that they set. And then the next target is, of the 75 who complete the program, a certain percentage has to be placed in a job. And I believe our number was 42. And we were at 47 job placements.
So 42 was your target, but of the 95, how many actually received a job placement?
Yeah. At last report was 47. I know we talked to a couple yesterday who actually received job offers. And I think this is what Rachelle was saying. We continue like through an alumni network. So we stay connected with, we stay connected with them. So we have 47 at last reporting period that do the job placement.
So help me understand the job placement assistance that you provide. Do you actually find the job for your trainee? You find the jobs, you match them a job, or do you graduate me and say, okay, Anita, go out there and you got your credentials and go get your job?
So let me take a step back. We both talked about empowerment in our program model. So we actually start our program, the first week of our job readiness program is all about labor market statistics, local labor market statistics. We look at skills that employers are requiring. We look at the skills that individuals have. So from that first week, individuals become very clear around the skills that they have, and then they determine the kind of job that they want to enter. So then from there, we begin to look at our employer engagement connections. And sometimes it's just cold connections, job fairs that we help to source them toward. So we actually help them make decisions about where their career should go. So we don't necessarily, we're not necessarily a jobs program where we go, we have 10 slots at X place.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. Tell me, is the training virtual or is your training in person?
So we run a hybrid program, and it also varies by cohort. So we did one cohort that had like recent college graduates, and that was like completely, it could be virtual more because of the resources were there, devices were there, they had access to internet, those kinds of things. Then there are cohorts where we actually have to do more in-person work because it's just the nature of building the literacy to, do the kind of work you need to do virtually. So we have a hybrid program, and each cohort functions differently based upon the needs of the people we're serving.
All right. So your organization, if correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is that your organization will take an individual with a variety or particular set of skills. You do not limit to just one type of skill set or interest. You are working to improve the individual's opportunity for employment. So you may work on a skill set, you may work on a talent, you may work on getting into a particular occupational designated field. In other words, yours is not cookie cutter where we can say individuals 19 to 24 who are unemployed and who have not completed high school can come to you and you'll take them through passing the CAS tests, getting a GED, and you have a determined job for them that's waiting, number 624, because you're number 624 in my class.
No, not at all. We are approved by the Higher Ed Commission to offer occupational skills training programs, job readiness, job placement programs, but we are not cookie cutter. We actually pride ourselves on having a human-centered design to our programming. And so that means we actually place the person at the center and let them drive the decisions. Our job is to empower them with the information that they need so that they can make the right decisions. And then we help them to gain independence. Again, RISE is about reaching independence through successful employment. So we try to position them to be, brokers of information so that they can make the decisions that they need to make. And we'll leverage connections and resources to get them there.
I appreciate that. You mentioned that there seems to be some concern about the funding. Can you help me understand what that real issue is?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sorry. So I'll talk about it from two angles. And I know, as I said, my organization, we do direct services to job seekers. And then we also have a branch of work that does strategic work. And some of the strategic work has been with the East of the River grant program that came out of the Office of Youth Programs for the past 2 years. So we've worked with 23 grantees, and we've helped to build capacity of these organizations who are working in various communities east of the river. And through this grant program, these providers have been impacting hundreds. I think it's maybe 2,000 total, east of the river, young people ages 16 to 24. But we've formed a coalition here where we can now, like, you know, we are kind of driving a community-based strategy to address some of the challenges that we see with the people that we're serving in various communities east of the river. Just this is an example. And so that program, to our knowledge, is over. And so we know that there are still other needs there. And so essentially, like, there is work to be done, but perhaps with the loss of these resources, then that work is gonna, you know, be delayed, or we have to find other avenues to continue it. And so I think as we continue to move forward, we need to be able to fund these programs, but we also need to fund capacity building, because there was some cohesion here that has been building. And then also with DSI, to our understanding, those grants aren't available this year. And so as Rachelle shared in her testimony, we have over 100 residents who are actually waiting to get support. And they're calling us, and we're like, you know, things are on hold because we don't perhaps have any permission or any resources to continue this work, that it does not stop. We had some of our alumni here yesterday. So the reality is that this work doesn't stop. And I'm sure that other colleagues who will be presenting today or sending in testimony will say the same thing. Without these grants, this work that has been impactful under the leadership of Dr. Morris Hughes at DOES, this work is going to be disrupted. And DC residents will feel the impact of work that the work that has started and won't be able to continue.
Maybe I'm kind of missed it in just thinking about much of what your testimony contains, but are you saying that you are currently not funded to continue the work you've been doing over the last, I'll say last year?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay. And your grant is at what level?
Service level 100 person, 100 person.
100?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to make sure that you have the resources to service a new 100 participants?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All right. And your conversations with DOES indicate that the money is there or is not there?
Is not there.
It's not there.
Right.
All right. Okay. And your funding source at DOES, do you know that? Is it federal or local or combination or?
You know, I don't know all the details, but it was within the Division of State Initiatives.
All right. Can you also give me the number of participants that took part of your literacy? I think it's your literacy program. That was the second program you operate?
Yes. So the digital literacy program is a 2-week boot camp. So for 80 hours, we work with 100 DC residents. You know, what we have found in some of our research is that digital literacy is the deciding factor on opportunity. So we even to go into a training program, if your training program is virtual or hybrid, you need to have the literacy. And we know that east of the river, there are large numbers, more than 40% of people over the age of 25 don't have a computer and or internet in the home. And so we wrote this proposal to combat that particular challenge and to get devices and to get technology plans on where you can access internet if you have a device. So this is a 2-week boot camp. And in this boot camp, we actually give them insight on from everything from operating systems to software to hardware. And so over the course of 2 weeks, we certify them. Some people make it to the star level and get like the master certification, at which is like 3 different certification exams. And some people are able to, all of them reach at least certification level number 1. But we can do certification level 1, 2, or 3, and that's within a 2-week period. But we're trying to build the digital literacy because also in a place of work now, you work remotely. So you got to know how to troubleshoot some for yourself in order to sign on to Zoom or Teams or Google Meets and those kinds of things. So 100 people, we were able to, I think we had 4 or 5 cohorts this past year, and we were able to get all 100 of those people certified at least a level 1. And that program is not continuing either.
And I'm sorry, your voice sort of trailed off. You're saying that program is not continuing?
It is not continuing, no.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. And so of the 100, this digital literacy program, was there any guarantee or any plan to assist those who completed, let's say, who have the level 3 completion, to place them in jobs?
I would say everything we do is about job placement. This was not necessarily a job placement program as much as it was a boot camp, but sometimes people like know this is a starting point to even apply for a job. I would defer to Rachelle. I know you're the learning. Any insight on how this is connected to job placement of those people who scored at very high levels?
Yeah, I would say from a development side, being able to leverage the certification on their personal branding profiles like LinkedIn, and being able to either transition them who want to move into a IT specific certification. This gave them a way to think about what that pathway has been, because I mean, traditionally we have seen residents who say, hey, I want to move into the IT specialty field, don't really know that there's more to a CompTIA, for example, than just being able to troubleshoot a computer. So this gave like a real, in lack of a better words, a gut check of like, is this a pathway for me? So I think those who have served at a higher level, this kind of was like a filter to be able to help them identify like, what is my next step? Do I want to take these digital literacy skills and move it into a career, or that's in that field, or do I just want to use it integrated into maybe an administration field or, a security field where you have to use technology. So I think that's what we've started to see it being used as far as job placement and job progression.
Okay, so is your organization, would it be prepared to help these individuals who at least complete level 3 to find employment in the IT industry within our community or the region?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also add some of what we've seen, like sometimes the folks who go through the digital literacy and score high actually may be trying to return to work. And so they're just sharpening up their skills, but everything we do is about job placement. So we are certainly able and ready to make some more connections around job placement for those who are enrolled in the digital literacy program.
And I would just add, there are, just from our follow-up as far as retention and kind of keeping track of our alumni, there are several of those participants who have actually secured jobs in the IT field if that's what they wanted to pursue. So we're happy to share, testimonies and examples of specific participants if that's requested.
Yes, I think that kind of information would be very helpful. I mean, I know that we are the individualist society of the world now. And so each person is sort of like their own keeper. But when we are spending our taxpayer dollars, I'm always very concerned that we are helping people to move up the so-called up the ladder, up a notch, so that they can be better able to take care of their individual needs, the needs of their household. So um, in the District of Columbia, we do have occupations with vacancies, and so I'd like for them to be filled by DC residents as much as possible. But I thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Our next panel, Mr. Remington Crawley, Mr. Tony Johnson, and I believe Mr. Eric Wheeler has joined us. Welcome, and we'll take your testimony. Oh, I'm sorry, and we also have Courtney Grant from the Carolina Canyon Corporation. So we have 4 on this panel. Thank you. And we will start with, let's start with, I see Mr. Crawley. We'll start with you, Mr. Crawley.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you now.
You said you can hear me?
We can. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Councilmember Bonds and your council member colleagues who serve on the Committee of Executive Administration and Labor. I would like to thank you for this hearing to discuss job training programs, and thank you for this opportunity to provide my testimony. I already forwarded my written testimony to you. My name is Remington Crawley, and I'm a concerned DC resident from Ward 8 and a graduate of the Chart Academy and RISE program. Also, I took the digital literacy and the digital literacy course. I'm testifying today the need to provide training, training providers like the Charter Academy with funding and the opportunity to serve the community with tangible employment resources. The need to continue providing support for the DOS and training providers like the Charter Academy to provide housing and other wraparound services. This is a personal story. I constantly found myself under the same job standards and found it difficult to elevate past the position I was in. I'm 23. I've acquired an abundance of jobs, but they never suited what I truly wanted. In this program, it showed me in the past year that I can craft a skill-based resume, a cover letter, and knowing how to frame a interview in a positive manner. I was able to utilize the skills that I already have acquired to build more into the career field that I want to take over. During the time of enrolling into the Charter Academy, I was unemployed, which I recently had just lost my job, and needed to find what suits me, such as stable connections between instructor and student, which is what I found. The staff also followed up with me after the program's completion. So they've been emailing me a multitude of, what would you call it? My apologies. I lost the wording for it, but they have sent me an abundance of job trainings and employers so I can find employment. But I found employment during the program, and yeah. I feel like our society needs the programs like the Chart Academy because it helped me find what I was vulnerable in and what I needed for myself. Being a young African American male in this day and age, it is increasingly more difficult to find programs or funding to get out of the systemic issues every individual in our community have faced. I have took full advantage of the Charter Academy's tools, instructors, valued assistance in areas that were lacking. They identified specific skills to help craft a multitude of documents to adjust in my resume, from 4 pages to a cover letter, a body of resume, and in closing remarks. Being able to write a thank you letter to a job was new for me. I personally wanted to share my story with everyone in the council because it allows people to gain a different perspective on the community that I am from and that we all come from. The fact that some people in our community still don't know or cannot find the tools to help them get out of the systemic struggles that we all face daily is the real reason why I gave my testimony today. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your personal testimony. I was almost tempted to say, I have your written testimony. Thank you very much. We want to hear what you have to say from the heart, but you move the agenda forward, and I want to thank you very much for that, Mr. Crawley. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now we can hear from, I see Mr. Grant. And yes, Mr. Grant, we'll hear from you, and then we'll hear from, I believe, yes, Dr. Johnson.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Good morning, Councilmember Bonds and council members. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. I will also be forwarding my written testimony to the committee later today. Please forgive me if my voice trails off, as I have a slight sore throat this morning. I am Courtney Grant, president of Carolina Canyon. Carolina Canyon is a financial readiness organization located here in DC, and we have been working with DC residents for the past 3 years. The work my organization does in DC helps create opportunities for job seekers to secure a quality job. Our programs have a baseline of financial literacy that is designed to encourage knowledge sharing with your community. Under the leadership of Dr. Morris Hughes, we have had tremendous opportunities to support various needs around the DC ecosystem. Programs such as work readiness with the Department of State Initiatives, financial literacy with the Office of Youth Programs east of the river. Our programs have various beneficial components, which include trauma training with licensed professionals discussing things like food and shelter insecurity traumas, financial insecurity traumas, financial literacy trainings with certified financial advisors, planners, and industry professionals, discussing budgeting your paychecks, assets versus liabilities, how to turn your liabilities into assets, investing in yourself and in your community, workforce readiness, and our outputs there are professional resume and professional resume writing, headshots, digital literacy training, LinkedIn profile creations, as well as Upwork profile creations. The skills gained by our participants as a part of the forward thinking of the Department of Employment Services and Dr. Maurice Hughes is a game changer and gives them access to the job market and the financial investment markets to participate in what we call the free market. Our graduates have said time and time again how much these programs they've learned and put into practice what they have learned and how they would love to see them continue on. They share them with their community, and our phone rings off the hook daily. We would like to end with asking for continued funding to DOES for the well-being of our department and our DC residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Dr. Johnson?
Yes, good morning, Council Member Bonds. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, Honorable Council Member Anita Bonds, and to your esteemed colleagues who serve on the Committee of the Executive Administration and Labor. My name is Dr. Tony Johnson. I serve as President and CEO for Captivate Perspectives, which is a DC-based small minority firm located in downtown DC on the East End. Captivate Perspective specializes in workforce development training and small program and project design and management. Our focus includes workforce development training for youth and adults here in the District of Columbia. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony for the DC Department of Employment Services. The DC Department of Employment Services, as you are aware, administers approximately $150 million in local and federal funds for workforce development programs and training, unemployment compensation, universal paid leave administration, labor standards, among many others. It is also charged with providing innovative compliance-focused work by leveraging the American Rescue Plan Act funds. This important work spans across 5 buildings and is led by a competent staff of approximately 900 people. Today, I'll be focusing on the ongoing and important work of the DC Department of Employment Services in terms of its workforce development system. The DC Department of Employment Services faces a tremendous cuts in its funds from the ARPA funding that was recently sunsetted. In addition to those cuts, there's still very much important work that lies ahead in terms of workforce development. Dr. Unique Morris Hughes has maintained a laser focus on leading the DC Department of Employment Services to achieve demonstrable outcomes. This important work includes making key investments in areas that support training and employment for district residents in high wage, high demand, and high growth industry sectors. It is important to continue high quality training programs here in the district. I humbly request the DC Council to continue to make substantial investments to restore funding for these programs in the absence of ARPA funding. These important training programs assist DC residents to have a fair shot for the middle class. As we know, research shows that workforce development training is effective when it is a part of a coordinated system with key investments for staff training, training development, and wraparound services in a continuum of care model. DOS provides funding for these areas, and we request that this continues. Through targeted programming and services, we will continue to strengthen our continuum of care model to support district residents. And we will continue to work with the Department of Employment Services on this important work to provide training, supports, and services that will lead to a livable wages for district residents. Thank you, Councilmember Bonds and the members of the Committee or the Executive Administration Labor for the opportunity to provide testimony today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson. And I believe, yes, I see Mr. Weaver. Mr. Weaver, we're happy to take your testimony. You're representing the National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Ms. Bonds, for allowing me to testify. My testimony is, primarily for the returned citizen population and the need for this program to be funded, and if not, to be funded and actually should be even given more funding than it is given. Excuse me for this. So I'm a DC native born here, previously incarcerated, served 22 years in jail, came home, been home for 14 years now. And I started the National Association for the Advancement of Returned Citizens. And through the DOAS program, I just can't even count the many lives that the program has saved over the years. We have a shortage of employment in the city, and I get at least 10 calls a day from people coming home from jail and needing jobs. And most of the time I don't have the job to give them. I don't have a pocket full of jobs to give them, but what I do have is project empowerment, where I could tell them, hey, let's get you signed up for project empowerment so you can get used to getting up early morning, putting on clothes, going somewhere, as well as learning some skills, and hopefully it leads to a job. It's been the quickest way for someone that's previously incarcerated to get acclimated back into the city and to get in job ready mode. It's been very helpful. I know plenty of my buddies who went through the program and are still at the same job or for 10 or 20 years. I think one of the biggest problems that I think the program has is that we need more employers to help with the hiring of this population after they complete the program. So I think that the city gets to also look at holding some of these employers accountable when we think of stuff like First Source and stuff like that, making sure that they in compliance with that, and even incentivizing some of these employers that are willing to take a chance on hiring return citizens. At the end of the day, it's really a public safety issue. I know a lot of times when something happens in the city, the first thing we do is we point to previously incarcerated people, but we don't do enough to get in front of that by making sure that these people have all access to get to ground zero. I think a second chance is helping a person to get back to ground zero, meaning that they are afforded all the opportunities that a regular citizen would be afforded. I think the program Project Empowerment really helps get that started, because it's nothing going on in the inside to prepare this population to be coming out here and sustaining workforce development skills and getting jobs. I said, and with the exception of maybe holding these employers accountable for the first source, as well as maybe changing some of the policies. And more importantly, I think the city really needs to start looking at reconciling. I think for even someone like me who has been home 14 years, worked in DC government, I've even been a deputy director at the Department of Correction, the same institution I actually was incarcerated at. Right now, I still have my record that can be used against me for certain employment opportunities. So I think reconciling here in the city is something that really needs to be looked at. But I know for sure we can't go without DOAS in this community, mainly for our population of people who are just coming home. It's saving lives. It's like the first step that I send people to get acclimated back into the city. And I hope and pray that we can find a way for them to get more employers to help them do the job they do and help keep return citizens out here. And thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for your, four of you, because Mr. Crowley was on a little earlier. Thank you for your testimony. I do want to ask Mr. Grant and Dr. Johnson, if you could help me with my independent survey that I do, and I wanted to get from you, if one, were you funded by DOAS in FY23?
Yes.
All right. And how many participants did you have, Mr. Grant? And how many completed the program? And then how many actually received jobs resulting from your training?
For the DSI project, our service level was 25. Of those 25, 3 are currently in the job field, and 2 are in the interviewing process, and the rest are still going through the program.
All right. So of your 25, did all of them complete your program?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
100%. Thank you. And Dr. Johnson?
We served approximately 398 district residents. We had 6 programs that were funded. 128 of those are adults, 225 of those are youth. We also have, for the adult program, 80 of those adults are incarcerated at the DC Department of Corrections.
All right. And so of the 120 that include the 80 that are incarcerated, have any of them completed your program?
Yes.
Whatever your training models are. Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Bond. So for the individuals who are in the Department of Corrections, we have had approximately about an 85% completion rate. Some of them have left to go to the Bureau of Prisons. Some of them have been released, but we have a program where we're supporting them while they are incarcerated, both at the DC Department of Corrections, CDF, the detention facility side, as well as the CTF, the Central Detention Facility side as well. And then for those who are not incarcerated, we served 48 of those individuals. And of those 48, approximately 12 of those are currently employed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And what has been the cost for, Dr. Johnson, what is the cost for training that you do with those who are incarcerated? You know, your average cost per person?
Councilmember Bonds, that's difficult to say because we backfill. So when individuals leave the class, we allow new people to come in. So I'll give you the easy answer and say it's probably somewhere around about $2,800 per person. But when we do in the backfield, there's a kind of a leveraging of those numbers where we end up serving a lot more people because of the transient nature of corrections.
Okay, and of the 48 that are not incarcerated,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the average cost per person for that?
That one is about $3,800, I believe. I have to double check.
Okay. And the difference of 1,000 is based on what? I mean, do you have to, for those who are not incarcerated, do you do like transportation stipend, things like that, equipment that they must have to complete the training?
Yes, so yes, all of those things. There are a number of wraparound services and supports for those individuals who are not incarcerated, which includes those things. We have some technology costs in terms of laptops, and we're working with them to apply for jobs. We update their resumes and those kind of things. For those who are incarcerated, we all definitely provide materials and supplies, but a lot of the infrastructure around the coursework is already provided for the facility. So the cost is a little less for those who are incarcerated.
All right. Would you please, Dr. Johnson, if you don't mind, could you, within your testimony, indicate the 6 different programs that you provide, you know, in your written testimony? That would be very helpful. So we have that for the record.
Okay, absolutely, Councilman.
All right. Mr. Grant, you indicated that you had 25 and 100% completed. And what is the average cost for each of your 25 participants, annual cost?
I would say along the same lines of Dr. Johnson, around 3,800. And the majority of that is because our program is hybrid. As a part of that program, we also provide technology and we utilize training rooms. And some of these training rooms for our participants require technology for them to be able to learn investing, trading, and some of the things that we produce. So that increases our expenditures around how much it costs for each participant, as well as allowing them a stipend for travel, understanding that the majority of them would need assistance to make it to a training site.
All right. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And Mr. Weaver, you are giving us a mouthful of what we need to do. I mean, you're saying you've got some ideas about how the formerly incarcerated can be selectees on the first source agreements that are a requirement in our government. And then you say we got to incentivize the employers to hire returning citizens. And you mentioned change policies. When you talk about changing policies, what do you have in mind specifically?
I think to be honest, I think record sealing is the biggest thing. So policy, law, or whatever it may be. I think, like I said, for someone even like me to still have to go through being possibly denied a job because of my background, when I've shown for the last 14 years that I'm a law-abiding citizen. At some point, there got to be a point where we stop having to be returned citizens and we just become citizens. I don't know any way that can happen without our record being sealed, at least to employers. I get it if I was to catch another charge, God forbid, that maybe they can use my background in determining how they want to treat me with that charge. But I think my citizenship, my work, and my being a law-abiding citizen for the last 14 years shows who I am today. But it still could be my past, something I did when I was 17, still has the possibility of hurting me or haunting me when I go look for a job. And I think there's no other way to solve that problem than looking at how do we seal records. And I know a lot of times people talk about expungement diffs and stuff like that, but Ms. Bonds, I know you very well aware of the makeup of the returned citizen population here in our city. Most of us have violent charges. And so a lot of times, even when people say, okay, we're going to do something, they tend to say this can apply to everybody besides people that have violent charges. But if we look at the recidivism rate, we look at that violent charge offenders have the lowest recidivism rate, but we never take that in consideration. So again, I think the biggest and the most progressive thing and I think DC is more progressive. I advocate and I go all over the country for reentry work, and advocating DC is by far one of the most, if not the most progressive place as far as helping return citizens. So I think the next step for the city should be reconciling.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As you were talking, I was wondering if you have conducted some survey, have some sense of the types of jobs that your population is particularly interested in, feels they have the skill set or have learned the skill set and can do the application. If you could speak for a minute on that, I would appreciate it.
I don't think it's no one specific I guess lane for our population. I think you got to be honest, some of the smartest people I ever met were some of the guys I were incarcerated with. So I think we can do any and everything if we give an opportunity. I think sometimes people try to put us in a box, and most of the time it's manual labor. I know DPW has a high percentage of their workers are returned citizens, but we more than trash collectors. We can do more. As I said, me myself, I been the deputy director at the DC Department of Corrections. I've actually worked for DOES. I'm a senior tax advisor. I'm an insurance agent. So I think we can do anything. It's just giving us the opportunity. I think that's something that mainly DC government should look at as well, and not just talk about the private sector of employees. The DC government, who has done a good job of hiring returned citizens, but I think they can do more. I think it should be a certain percentage at all government agencies that are set aside for returned citizens. I mean, we're able to be, we're teachable. We can learn anything.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that understanding, and I hope that the public heard it loud and clear. I was talking to a recruiter for Amazon, and they told me, well, council member, if a person knows the alphabet and can count to 10, we can train them. So I think you're reminding us of that very basic element of how the employment world needs those who are dedicated, and that's a part of it, and those that will be consistent and that can be respected and honored accordingly. So I thank you very much for that, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you.
And hope we'll be able to realize some of your dreams that you have shared with us today, and hope we get your testimony in writing. That would be very helpful.
Yes, I'll send it.
All right. Mr. Grant and Dr. Johnson, what are your thoughts as to hiring returning citizens or getting them through the training programs? Are there some specific areas that you have been engaged with returning citizens and training?
So one, Mr. Weaver, I'm definitely gonna reach out to you, sir, because I think you and I need to sit down. I think that would be great. Council member, I know that what my experience is, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of resumes. So we do a lot of very purposeful work to redo their resumes ourselves. I think it's great to try to train people, but that's a very, very distinct skill set. And I think many providers need to be more purposeful and intentional to help to craft a honest and true resume, but one that also showcases some of their talents and skills, even if they learned it when they were incarcerated. There are a number of people who are on different work details while they're incarcerated, and those are work experiences that I believe are definitely transferable once they're released. And as Mr. Weaver said, he is absolutely correct. We can provide very robust, high quality workforce training, but employers definitely have to partner with us in a very meaningful way for us to be able to connect them to high demand, high skill occupational areas after training. And it's one thing to provide lip service for that, but it's another thing to actually give returning citizens a competitive advantage for employment opportunities. So I believe conversations like this are critical. I think we should also provide more roundtable discussions with the larger employers in the region to see how we can strengthen the pipeline for talent for returning citizens. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, Dr. Johnson, because you are right where we want to be, and that is to bring some of our employers to the table. You can count on that, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
The way it works here at the council, if it's a suggestion in public testimony, we can go there, and so I thank you very much for that. Mr. Grant, give you an opportunity for your response.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to also be added to that conversation with Mr. Weaver as well. We've actually noticed that resume writing is one of the premier ways to assist them with moving forward, but we've also introduced them to that program that I mentioned a little earlier called Upwork. It's allowing them to put themselves in a position to be their own boss, broadcast what they're good at, things they've learned, and put themselves in a position to actually work directly with the consumer. So through our program, as a part of what they're working on before they end up working with an employer, they'll take on jobs. You know, sometimes we've met a number of them who want to do housework. I know Mr. Weaver, you mentioned a little earlier, it's not always manual labor, but sometimes there is work that they want to do. So that does allow them to then operate in that space, as well as IT, because there's IT opportunities there on Upwork. If you upload your resume there and you're a graphic designer, you utilize that because you're working remotely and digitally through that process. So I've noticed that there are programs that are available to them that they don't know about. So as a part of what we do is introduce them to those programs that they have access to.
All right. Well, thank you. We could talk another hour or so, but I know you have your enterprises to run, and Mr. Weaver has got many folk to talk with. And Mr. Crowley, I don't want to leave you out. Is he still with us? In the event you wanted to add to this conversation, you're on this panel. You are no longer with us. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all very much for your testimony today.
Okay,
thank you. Look forward to continuing the work.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have Ms. Gloria Davis, who is on our witness list. Ms. Davis, we can receive your testimony now if you'd like.
Okay, my mic is on, but my video won't start. That's nice.
All right, we'll take it.
Okay. Good morning, Councilmember Bonds and your council member colleagues. My name's Gloria Davis. I'm a concerned DC resident from Ward 6 and a graduate of the Charter Academy RISE program. I'm testifying today about the need to provide job training providers like the Charter Academy with funding and an opportunity to serve the community with tangible employment resources. My journey with Charter Academy has impacted, yes, my self-esteem, my ability to think outside the box, enhance my computer skills, and to like me again, to like myself. No more pity parties. I left my job market a year and 8 months ago to face my health issues, such as open heart surgery, 8 legs operation, 4 eye operations, and a broken foot surgery. And today, I report I'm ready to rise, reaching independence through successful employment. With that said, had I not connected to Chart Academy, I would still be lying in my bed, looking up at the ceiling, wondering about how to rise. The services at Chart Academy provided me to get back in touch with the skills, talent, ability, and knowledge as it pertained to the workforce in my administrative and executive career for the past 20 plus years. It allowed me to recreate a cover letter that puts me to the front of the line of a recruiter, tweak my resume to the job in which I was applying for, a better system of tracking the jobs that I applied for through an Excel spreadsheet that had indicators like the position, the employer, what type of jobs, what about the employee, what do they bring to the table? If I need to follow up, and other different things that I didn't think of in the beginning when I was out there job hunting that I didn't think would be useful, but it was very useful, has been very useful. It also put me in a position for interviewing, better techniques, what to ask, how to answer them, your body language, your eye contact, all that makes a difference as you interview. And again, put you in front of who your competition may be. At RISE, they also help with clothes to help you dress for success. RISE has been an opportunity for me to find new jobs, increase my skill development. I was also a part of the digital literacy. I wanted to tell my story because I needed to speak for those who are too ashamed or too shy or couldn't find their words to tell you of the help they need and have received by the service provided by work readiness organizations such as Charter Academy, needing a leg up to rise. It would greatly be helpful to continue funding workforce readiness organization for DC residents, for them to be a productive contributor to the workforce and stop staring up at the ceiling, wondering, what am I good for? Finding a place to rise creates each individual to become a successful employee. I thank you, Council Member Bonds, and your council member colleagues for your time today. Your consideration to these matters and solutions is very much appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis, for your powerful testimony. Just had a couple of questions, really observations. I believe, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're pointing out that it's not just the job training, it's the preparation for the jobs market that is tantamount, perhaps for many, to their success. Is that what you're sharing with us?
You got that correct, council member. Yes, you do. That's what you're hearing.
Okay, that's pretty powerful. You know, we think it can be cut and dry that, okay, we've got this program, it relates to a particular occupation. We'll show you, you know, to some degree, the soft skills, but certainly the hard skills. And whammo, you complete everything. And now, okay, we got this job, you just go get that job. But it's also, you're telling us, it's a mindset,
Yes.
it's a
yes,
desire, it's an interest,
Yes.
and it's being able to follow through. There's some steps that many in our community that are not working will have to complete in order to join the work world.
Yes. yes.
And I appreciate hearing that. You're really helping to set the stage for us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Indeed. We have been joined by the last, our last witness is Ms. Everhart. Ms. Everhart, I understand you're in the room and we can take your testimony now.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes. Oh, we can hear you and see you. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Councilmember Bonds and member colleagues who serve on the Committee of Executive Administration and Labor. I would like to thank you for this hearing and discuss the training programs, and thank you for this opportunity to provide my testimony. I will forward this written testimony in committee later today. My name is Alicia Everhart. I am a concerned DC resident from Ward 7 and a graduate of the Chart Academy RISE program. I am testifying about 3 issues: the need to provide training providers like the Chart Academy with funding and opportunity to serve the community with tangible employment resources, the need to continue providing support for DOES and training providers like this Chart Academy to provide housing and other wrap around services, and the need to continue support does in creating out of the school youth engagement programs like middle school camps that give DC youth positive spaces to feel safe and learn to explore careers. After the pandemic, I was afraid to go outside and leave my family behind and was not motivated to start a career search. As a single mom, I was so unsure of how I would be able to provide for childcare for my daughter while I look for work. This was a barrier for me getting started. I have gone to plenty job training programs and they were good for helping with my resume and going on interviews. But once I finished the program, they did not follow up to see the outcome on was I hired. And I felt like they left me high and dry. But Child Academy was totally different. When I met Corey from another partner organization, he made sure I did not have to use public transportation, which was very supportive. The support system was better. It felt like a family. This also helped my self-esteem. And I was also re-entering citizen. And Child Academy provided education letters to show proof of my career search. Very thankful for that. I was also able to interact with my daughter through the Chart Academy middle school camp. We went on nice field trips. It was very helpful, and my education brought us closer together. To see her interact with other children is awesome. I want the council to know that the Chart Academy job training programs is supportive of my family and helps others to reconnect in the world. The council should support the funding programs like the Child Academy and the wards around the city and to reach families in the world. And also I want to talk about like with my religion as well. I haven't like been assaulted or anything. They gave me a chance, like at times when I had to take times to make my prayer, they was kind enough to give me a break room, and that was very helpful as well. So I'm very appreciative of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We're glad to have it on the record. And I'll just say you added another dimension. You pointed out that the program you were engaged with really gave consideration to your family and how you should have the ability to relate to your family. And I know that many are not focused on the fact that your family is, and how you have to manage your family is sometimes a big part of your work environment and your opportunity to move forward in a job. So thank you very much for adding that dimension, Ms. Elhart. Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to my voice being heard. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is heard, respected, and hopefully we'll be able to act upon it. I noticed that you, like Ms. Davis, want to make sure that we continue funding. You want to make sure we support DOES. You're thankful for the out of school activities, and just that working with the Chart Academy and through the RISE program, has the opportunity to give you a new lease on life. And that's very important.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our public witnesses today. And we'll now transition to hearing from our government witnesses. They've been very patient, also waiting to have their opportunity. I believe we're going to, Dr. Morris Hughes will be with us at 1. And so we're going to start at the top of this important cluster in our government with the Deputy Mayor for Education, Mr. Paul Kahn, and we will swear him in and then receive his testimony. And thank you very much for being here. I want everyone to know that the government witnesses have been here. Oh my goodness. All right. I did not see you. I thought, all right. Let me say to the public, we have a full complement here today, and we're blessed to do that, because I know that while we think at the council we're very busy, we also know that the agencies and the rest of the operating government is very busy. So thank you all for being here. So we're going to have Dr. Kahn, and we're going to have also Dr. Morris Hughes and Mr. Drew Hubbard. Thank you. Yes. All right. Thank you all very, very much.
Councilmember Bonds, I do have this very special Regional Secretary of Labor thing today, webinar today. So I'm going to join you for a bit, and then I'm going to excuse myself, and then you have me all afternoon.
We understand that, and that's why I was thinking you were going to be here after 1. So, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And let me just say to the public, I hope you understand that this is an opportunity to have a discussion. more than anything else. And so some of the traditional formalities, we're not so concerned with that. We're concerned with the content of our programs and to make sure that the public learns more and can therefore apply more to these situations that they find themselves in looking for work. So with that said, I will ask if the witness table will raise your right hand so we can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that your testimony and any statements that you make before us today to be truthful and complete?
Do.
All right, thank you. And we will start. Shall we start with you, Deputy Mayor? All right.
Good morning, Chairperson Bonds, members of the committee, staff, and members of the public. My name is Paul Kine, and I'm honored to serve as the Deputy Mayor for Education for the District of Columbia. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today at this roundtable on job training programs in the District of Columbia. This is a very important moment for our workforce development system. Mayor Bowser has issued an ambitious comeback plan, which aims to lift the median household income of Black residents by $25,000 per year and create 35,000 new jobs in high-growth sectors, among other goals. We all, and especially our education and workforce agencies, have an important role to play in the success of the comeback plan. The DME performs a strategic coordination role in the workforce training landscape in DC. This workforce landscape is diverse to meet residents' and employers' needs, with 82 workforce programs, 193 training providers, and 15 agencies across government providing job training. The collective goal of our system is to prepare and connect residents with the current and future jobs in DC, with a priority on connecting residents with limited economic opportunity to good jobs. DME supports the workforce system by conducting oversight of key investments, coordinating across cluster agencies, and aligning the public education system with the district's workforce needs. Importantly, the DME houses the Workforce Investment Council, or the WIC, the district's state and local workforce board, and includes in its cluster the Department of Employment Services, DOES, the district's labor agency, which offers a wide range of employment programs and services to district residents. Following the pandemic, the WIC is evolving its role to focus on oversight, strategy, and coordination across workforce programs. This includes oversight of federally and locally funded workforce programs, developing and coordinating our workforce system strategy across funding sources, leading engagement with employers, and ensuring the system is driven by employer needs, and leading cross-agency coordination of engagement with both employers and residents seeking workforce support, particularly residents facing barriers to employment. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, state plan represents an important opportunity to gain buy-in around our district-wide workforce strategy aligned to employers' needs, and our Career and Technical Education state plan, which is being developed by the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, or OSSE. The DME is strongly committed to supporting Executive Director Hubbard's leadership of these efforts. DOES, under the leadership of Director Morris Hughes, houses critical job training programs for residents. These programs include, as you've heard from some witnesses, Project Empowerment, the DC Infrastructure Academy, the Summer Youth Employment Program, the School Year Internship Program, and Youth and Adult Apprenticeships. We look forward to continuing to support Director Morris Hughes' leadership and her agency's important work to support DC residents. In addition to WIC and DOES, we are glad to have the University of the District of Columbia in our cluster. As the sole public institution of higher education in the district, UDC is a critical component of our workforce training system, particularly through its community college and workforce development division. We are proud of the growth UDC has made under the leadership of President Mason and anticipate continued strong progress under new President Eddington as he embarks on his tenure and prioritizes student success and seamless pathways to, within, and beyond the institution. In terms of my office's priorities, DME remains focused on reimagining the high school experience so that our students are engaged and prepared for success in high-wage careers and life. This includes the expansion of paid work-based learning in high-growth sectors and courses leading to the degrees and credentials needed to secure good jobs in these fields. An example of this work is the launch of the Cross-Sector Advanced Technical Center, which opened its doors in school year 22-23. The ATC allows students within career and technical education programs at their schools to gain experience and work towards tuition-free degrees in cybersecurity and nursing. Another example is the expansion of career-aligned paid internships during the school year and summer through OSSI's Advanced Internship Program and Career Ready Internship. We will continue to promote alignment between secondary and post-secondary education and our workforce, and to develop clear pathways for students. Finally, my office will continue to prioritize evidence-based interventions. We want to know which programs are working for which industries and which residents. To that end, we are proud to be launching the Education to Employment Data System, which will allow us to understand the impact of our education and workforce systems on residents' post-secondary and career outcomes. This data initiative, a national best practice funded in the fiscal year 24 budget, thanks to the mayor's and DC Council's support, will allow the DC Council, policymakers, and the public to understand the impact of our programs on residents' economic mobility, and will allow government and program participants to make smart investments and decisions. We look forward to collaborating with the Council around this data system, as well as other workforce development priorities. I thank you for the opportunity to participate in the conversation around the range of job training programs we offer in the district, and to highlight the connections and pathways between public education, public higher education, workforce training, and employers, as well as our vision for success. We look forward to collaborating with the Council so that our residents are well prepared for success in the district's economy.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Now we'll hear from Dr. Morris Hughes.
Good morning, Chairperson Bonds, members of the committee and committee staff. I'm pleased to be part of this discussion on job training programs alongside my colleagues. The mission of the Department of Employment Services is to connect district residents, job seekers, and employers to opportunities and resources that empower fair, safe, and effective working communities. Critical components of achieving this mission are the job training and apprenticeship programs that the agency operates and facilitates. Councilmember Bonds, we've spoken in the past about how I want to make everyone a job developer, but part of that is ensuring we have the structures in place to make sure residents can attain good jobs. Our workforce programs, as we refer to them, fall under 4 different divisions within the agency: the Office of Youth Programs, the Division of State Initiatives, the Workforce and Federal Programs Bureau, and the Office of Innovation and Partnerships. My remarks today provide an overview of the focus of each of these programs and highlight major accomplishments and updates. In the Office of Youth Programs, we develop and administer workforce development programs for district youth between the ages of 14 and 21. While some of the programs offered by OYP might not traditionally be considered job training programs, we include them under this umbrella because they include core tenets of work readiness, such as soft skills development and work experience. The job training programs offered through OYP include the year-round youth program, which consists of the school year internship program. The objective of this program is to provide academic enrichment, activities, work readiness skills, project-based learning, life skills, and leadership development for in-school youth between the ages of 14 and 21. The goal of the program is to help prepare district youth to successful transition from high school into post-secondary education, advanced training, unsubsidized employment, or a career in the military. We currently have 70 host sites and 1,000 young people participating in the program. The Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program provides district youth between the ages of 14 to 21 with enriching constructive summer work experiences through subsidized placements with employers in the district. This year, we served over 11,000 young people at over 780 host sites. And then we have our beloved Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute, which is a 4-level year-round training and development program for approximately 450 district youth between the ages of 14 and 19. Young people learn core leadership skills and soft skills that set them up for success in the workplace. Since our school year internship program for this fiscal year just started on October 2nd, I'd like to take a quick moment to share an update on this program. We're serving over 1,000 young people at 120 host sites, and we're pleased to note that the demand from employers to have youth work with them continues to be strong. In fact, we have more host site positions than we actually have participant slots. Now, our Division of State Initiatives offers workforce programs designed to provide short-term subsidized employment and ancillary services to district residents residing in persistent problem areas and facing barriers to employment due to prior incarceration or deficiencies in education, work experience, and training. The job training programs offered through DSI include Project Empowerment, which we heard a lot about today, which is a transitional jobs program serving DC residents between the ages of 22 to 54 who face multiple barriers to employment, including previous incarceration. The program promotes employability by offering job readiness and skills training, case management, coaching, and subsidized work experience, job search assistance, and a variety of supportive services. DC Career Connections, which was created in August of 2015 by Mayor Bowser as part of the Safer, Stronger initiative, is a public safety tool to engage disconnected youth between the ages of 20 to 24 with the same goals as Project Empowerment. We continuously look for opportunities to expand our impact in DSI. To that end, I'm excited to share with you that DSI will partner with the Department of Corrections to implement a partnership at the Department of Corrections Resources to Empower and Develop You Center, which we also know as the Ready Center, where DOES staff will be co-located and support residents with navigating DOES and other employment services. DOES will also provide abbreviated job readiness training at the Ready Center. Additionally, DSI will partner with the U.S. Department of Labor to implement a grant to provide job readiness training to DC residents housed at halfway house locations. This program started on September 30th and will run through FY24. We are very excited and look forward to sharing about our work with women that are located here in the DC halfway house for incarcerated women. Now, in our Workforce and Federal Bureaus program, we operate the American Job Centers and the Office of Apprenticeship Information and Training. Also, our out-of-school youth program, veterans, and special employment programs for seniors. This bureau oversees DOES's Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act funding and supplemental activities. Job training programs that are offered through this program include the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which we affectionately called CSEP, which is a part-time community service work-based training program that helps adults ages 55 and up develop skills to get jobs and become self-sufficient. Our out-of-school youth program, which provides several services such as career counseling and coaching, work readiness, occupational and vocational skills training to young adults ages 16 to 24 who are not in secondary or post-secondary education. And then finally, our Office of Apprenticeship Information and Training, which ensures that district residents receive quality on-the-job training and classroom instruction needed to secure employment in high-demand trades. The Youth Apprenticeship Program, which falls under our OAIT team, annually serves approximately 110 students through active high school partnerships, which include Idea Public Charter School and Ballou Stay, to name 2 of the 9 schools that we're partnering with. The pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship pathways for graduating seniors are provided. And then there's also an out-of-school youth component, which targets students seeking positive outcomes post-graduation. Just yesterday, alongside other district partners, we announced, which I'm super excited about, the Historically Black College and University Apprenticeship Program. This pilot will launch in FY24 with the goal of attracting and retaining talented undergraduate seniors from Howard University and the University of the District of Columbia to work in district government agencies. And who knows, maybe we can even add some staff on council as well there. DOES will be providing oversight and support services, while DCHR will serve as a program sponsor and assist with the day-to-day operations. The Mayor's Office of Innovation will provide additional support through program evaluation. The initiative aims to place at minimum 25 HBCU graduates from each respective university starting in June of 2024. And then last, the Office of Innovation and Partnerships. This bureau is comprised of the Office of Talent and Client Services and the DC Infrastructure Academy. These services go hand in hand to create a talent pipeline for the district. DCIA recruits and trains district residents to fulfill the needs of the infrastructure industry and provide infrastructure jobs with leading companies. The Infrastructure Academy, which is nationally recognized, provides a range of training programs, including commercial driver's license, IT, PEPCO, SolarWorks, and energy, construction, utility training programs. These programs are designed to be short and accessible between 8 and 18 weeks, so participants can quickly enter the workforce. Our Office of Talent and Client Services is leading a new initiative to create a partnership with Eightfold, a talent intelligence platform to help improve outcomes for job seekers. Eightfold offers solutions to help make the recruitment process more efficient. We will utilize tools, including AI, to help reduce unconscious bias that candidates encounter when they apply for jobs. We will also deploy tools to help candidates identify potential jobs based on their skill and background. With these tools, which will be infused with AI, job seekers will create a dynamic resume that they will be able to use to apply for positions. I want to thank you, Councilmember Bonds, for the opportunity to join today's discussion. I look forward to answering your questions. I will excuse myself when it's time and then rejoin the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Next, we'll hear from Drew Hubbard. Dr. Hubbard is the new Executive Director of the Workforce Investment Conglomerate. That's what I call it.
Conglomerate, we'll take it.
Yes. I mean, it really is, because you're the role to where we have to go. Thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate it. Good morning, Chairperson Bonds, committee members and staff of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. I am Drew Hubbard, the Executive Director of the DC Workforce Investment Conglomerates, now newly renamed. But thank you for inviting me today to hear more about the work of the WIC and how we coordinate and oversee our full workforce system. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to serve in this role that empowers DC residents and businesses by aligning their needs to produce career opportunities in a wide range of sectors and across all 8 wards. The WIC serves at the State and Local Workforce Board for the city, and under Mayor Bowser's leadership, along with the Deputy Mayor of Education, the Department of Employment Services, and colleagues in the education and workforce system, and in partnership with organizations in the private and nonprofit sectors, we remain focused on delivering a workforce system that is aligned, coherent, accessible, and that works for all, especially for those who are most at risk of being left behind as the economy continues to rebound. We can continue to work on advancing our system toward ensuring that every young person and adult is on a pathway to a self or family sustaining career through education, skills-based training, supportive services, and ultimately, and most importantly, meaningful employment. Over the past year, the WIC has expanded and deepened that role by establishing innovative programs that supported residents in navigating career opportunities, augmented access to occupational training, and worked with businesses to improve their hiring strategies through skills-based hiring approaches. Through coordination and alignment across government and the private sectors, the WIC is responsible for developing and overseeing the implementation of the district's unified WEO estate plan. The district's current WEO estate plan is set to conclude early next year. And we are in the process of facilitating the 2024 through 2028 planning process, which is due to the Department of Labor in March of 2024.
The WIC has participated in regional DOL convenings where guidance was provided on new areas of focus that should be included in the upcoming plan. And we will work with all the stakeholders in the district to ensure collaboration and alignment in the vision and goals for the district over the next 4 years, along with upholding all the goals of the mayor's comeback plan. So some of the activities germane to today's discussion, really looking at how we empower our residents for their training needs. We launched in the summer of 2022 in response to a survey of thousands of unemployed workers that were impacted by COVID, a Career Coach DC, which added capacity to existing workforce development programs by providing free career coaching services to residents with in-person locations at targeted public libraries, along with enterprise community development apartment complex locations in wards 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Accessible online, by phone, or in person, DC residents received assessment, case management, and navigation support. Coaches helped residents develop an individualized career plan and steps to achieve their goals by connecting them to education, training, and employment. At the conclusion of the program, over 3,000 residents enrolled in coaching services and achieved at least one career goal that they set out to do. To ensure that residents had continuation of services, the program has now been transitioned to My Journey DC that hosts a participant portal with a navigation tool aligned with employment, education, and training goals linked to resources that support resume writing, interview skills, access to supportive services, and access to education and training resources. With that commitment, the WIC through My Journey DC looks at developing and modernizing the data infrastructure of the workforce development system, building the infrastructure necessary to analyze and report on workforce development programs and outcomes. My Journey DC represents a comprehensive platform that includes a community catalog of more than 70 organizations and 250 workforce programs available for DC residents to self-refer to workforce-related programs and services. The WIC has transitioned the in-person component of Career Coach to a virtual experience through the participant portal, as I mentioned. WIC staff also refer individuals between agencies and programs, ensuring that ensure that there are multiple ways to guide job seekers in their needs to ensure their career success. To date, over 7,000 residents have been referred to services through My Journey DC, including through career coaching services, job readiness assistance, and occupational skills training. One of our very important tools is embodied by the expenditure guide. And as you will know, Councilmember, the Workforce Development System Transparency Act mandated that the WIC develop and update annually a workforce development system expenditure guide that reports funding and outcomes for all district government funded workforce development activities. The expenditure guide and accompanying document reports on the work of all 15 plus agencies that deliver workforce development services to thousands of residents across the 80 workforce programs. WIC began developing this report in FY19, and it serves as a key tool for our ability to analyze and assess the district's success in delivering workforce programs and services really aimed at continuously improving our approach to service delivery. One of the other very, very important facets that the WIC engages in is business engagement. That function within the WIC in the city is instrumental in informing decisions and strategies for training programs, and also looking at sector-specific initiatives. Business engagement staff work closely with local businesses to foster sector participation and the evolving demands of our high-demand sectors and occupations. By facilitating collaboration and maintaining quality standards, our business engagement staff helps create clear career pathways and ensures that training providers listed as eligible meet industry standards. This essential role supports the region in cultivating a skilled and job-ready workforce, ultimately contributing to the economic growth and vitality of the District of Columbia. In the upcoming fiscal year, the Business Engagement Unit will continue to maintain a strong focus on sector strategies and partnerships, aiming to expand the participation of businesses in essential workforce development programs like apprenticeships, on-the-job training, and work experience opportunities. Concurrently, we will emphasize the development of sector partnerships, working to establish reverse technical assistance programs that enable more job seekers to access high demand industries. Our goal is to create a streamlined, one-stop approach for business seeking services, simplifying the process of connecting residents with job opportunities that align with both the mayor's economic development plan and the specific needs of the business community. Our staff will make a concerted effort to establish business relationships that specifically represent our high growth and in-demand industries. Over the last year, our business engagement folks have made remarkable progress, driven by both the allocation of ARPA funds and collaboration, really with the council and the committee. Initiatives have significantly enhanced our capacity to serve the district and support economic growth through our high demand sectors and occupational sector strategies. The recent sector updates that we've undertaken are a testament to our dedication to workforce preparedness for both current employment needs and future job opportunities. The addition of education and hospitality, retail, tourism, and entertainment, a mouthful, transportation infrastructure, utilities, and business and office administration as standalone category complements our initial high demand sectors in IT, healthcare, construction, security, and law enforcement. These adjustments stem from the work of the Career Task Force, really going back to 2014 and moving forward, and reflect an approach that's proactive with aligning our workforce with the evolving needs of businesses in the district. By expanding our high demand sector to 8, we are laying the foundation for tailored training programs for frontline staff, ensuring they are equipped with knowledge about available occupations. Additionally, we're actively working on fostering sector partnerships to facilitate direct business engagement, strengthening the vital connection between our workforce and industry demand. There's 2 other areas I will highlight very briefly, and happy to take any questions after that. One being our career pathway mapping activities. The career pathway maps are developed by the WIC, and they were updated to reflect the data informing the new high demand sectors that I just discussed. The career pathway maps are tools that help individuals explore available opportunities in the district's high demand sectors. They also serve as a tool for professionals in education, workforce development, and human resources as they support job seekers and employers in choosing among the opportunities that interest them. The career pathway maps include information about credentials, labor market value, and wages relevant to the local context. In the summer of 2023, the WIC updated its pathway maps, increasing them from 13 maps to 18 career pathway maps to include the updated high demand sectors. The career pathway maps are currently in the process of being vetted by the business community to strengthen their content. Another exciting partnership that we continue to foster is in the healthcare industry through our healthcare intermediary partnership program. The DC Hospital Association Intermediary Partnership serves as a pivotal bridge that connects businesses, training providers, and job seekers, ensuring that the workforce is well equipped to meet the demands of that particular sector. This partnership is an example of the crucial role that sector partnerships play in aligning industry needs with workforce development. One of the primary functions of the DC Hospital Association Intermediary Partnership is to facilitate industry-specific collaborations. By bringing together healthcare facilities, educational institutions, and prospective healthcare professionals, this partnership fosters an environment where essential skills are honed and tailored to the unique requirements of the healthcare sector. This ensures that the healthcare workforce is not only prepared, but excels in their roles, providing the high-quality care that the community relies on. The strategies developed within this partnership are instrumental in addressing labor market gaps in the ever-evolving healthcare industry. It's important that we stay attuned to specific skills and competencies in demand in this sector. In FY24, the DC Healthcare Workforce Partnership will continue its charge of being an industry-driven, community-supported, sector-based alliance consisting of businesses from the healthcare sector. Healthcare employers continue to lead this work by defining the agenda and driving it forward with our support. Since its inception, the partnership has grown to over 50 members, including 21 employers, and will be issuing the 4th annual healthcare occupations report that will not only activate the strategic recommendations within the last report, but will serve as a model to establish a best practice to create advisory boards for the district's top 5 high demand sectors of employment, education, training opportunities. Another very pivotal component of the requirements under WIOA embodies itself in the eligible training provider list. This plays a vital role in connecting individuals with valuable workforce training and education opportunities. The ETPL is a curated list of training providers and programs that have undergone rigorous certification to meet specific eligibility and performance criteria as established by the WIC. This list serves as a guiding compass for individuals seeking training, ensuring that the offerings align with the demands of the high demand sectors in the district, as well as the broader region encompassing Maryland, Virginia. Individual training accounts are issued by DOES, but providers are supported by the WIC for performance. In March of 2023, we undertook a substantial update to ETPL policy to contain performance data that matches the WIOA agreed upon metrics, including reciprocity information, to provide capacity for expanding ETPL with providers outside the district. We also moved data collection from an annual basis to a quarterly basis to allow for more accurate data collection and the ability to get more point-in-time information for our providers. As of the present, the WIC list includes a total of 23 training providers offering 96 training programs that directly align with our high demand sectors. Among these, 3 currently have human care agreements with the OES, allowing district residents to receive individual training account scholarships to attend training. We are actively working with DOES to increase that number and really streamline how that process works. So we will have more to report to the committee as those activities play out. So in conclusion, as it was mentioned, the WIC sits within the DME, and it is the district, state, and local workforce board in alignment with WIOA. The agency is responsible for oversight of federally and locally funded workforce programs, developing and coordinating our workforce system strategy across all those sources, leading engagement with employers, and ensuring that the system is driven by employers' needs, and leading cross-agency coordination for engagement of both employers and residents seeking workforce support, particularly residents facing barriers. In support of the system development, the WIC will continue to strengthen its core focus of oversight, strategy, coordination, and employer and resident engagement. This work will largely center on employers' talents needs. I look forward to working with the committee, the members of the WIC board, and our partners in preparing our residents for both current and future careers in the district and across the region to meet the necessary demands of businesses for upward mobility of district residents. I thank you for the invitation to appear today, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that very thorough testimony. And I can vouch for you with the public that there were at least 6 other items he could have shared with us. But we'll get into that, I guess, during the question period. So thank you very much for that. It's very, very helpful. One of today's goals is to let the public know that we really, as a community, the District of Columbia has many opportunities, and we are hoping that the public will learn more about them and take advantage of them. Next, we are going to hear from Mr. Charles Hall, the Director of the Department of Human Resources. Mr. Hall, you're on. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Bonds and members of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. My name is Charles Hall, and I serve as the Director of the DC Department of Human Resources, or DCHR. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify on the job training opportunities provided by DCHR. As the personnel authority for most district agencies, DCHR's mission is to provide first-class human resource management services that drive organizational success and empower employees and agencies to provide the very best in government services to our residents. Employees drive an organization's success. DCHR, through our Center for Learning and Development, empowers district employees and residents with training, workforce development, and organizational development programs that increase their knowledge and skills. I'd like to take a little bit of time to share some of the great work we're doing through these programs. The district's growth and sustained success hinges on its ability to identify, nurture, and empower future leaders who can navigate the complexities of tomorrow's challenges. DCHR offers multiple programs that build a robust talent pipeline. Our pipeline connects district residents to employment opportunities and sustains the district government's ability to provide world-class services. One of the ways DCHR attracts new talent to the district is through our apprenticeship programs. Through an apprenticeship program, district residents can gain work experience, hands-on training, and professional mentoring and coaching. In collaboration with the Department of Employment Services, DOES, DCHR has approved apprenticeship standards for 8 programs in the areas of information technology, human resources, law enforcement, call center, and healthcare administration. Between FY22 and FY23, we registered over 100 apprentices, and many participants have advanced into permanent positions within district government. In August of this year, DCHR celebrated our apprentice graduation and saw firsthand the program's impact on participants. In addition to learning new skills and securing permanent district government employment, apprentices also gained a professional support network that provides collaboration, mentorship, and further opportunities for career development. At DCHR, we recognize the importance of decisions made while in high school. This is a critical time for our youth, where they stand at the threshold of adulthood and the world of possibilities beyond. DCHR, in collaboration with DOES, provided those enrolled in district high schools or high school equivalent programs with the necessary tools, guidance, and opportunities designed to help them make an informed transition to post-secondary education or employment. The In-School Youth Leadership Program provides district high school students between the ages of 16 to 21 by giving them hands-on, practical, project-based tasks, coaching, mentoring, workshops, and other professional development activities. Many participants move on to receive their college degrees and/or have successfully secured employment. The In-School Youth Leadership Program not only invests in these students' futures, but also empowers students to become informed, skilled, and engaged citizens who can actively contribute to their communities and the district as a whole. Undergraduate and graduate students offer a wealth of knowledge, potential for innovation, and fresh perspectives that can significantly enrich and fortify the district government services and practices. Our District Leadership Program, or DLP, matches undergraduate and graduate students with district agencies to provide tomorrow's leaders with the knowledge, tools, skills, and experiences that can be readily applied to future challenges and pursuits. Through the program, participants gain direct experience with local government operations and are often tasked to support and lead key agency initiatives. Armed with the on-the-job experience they gain through the District Leadership Program and their knowledge and fresh perspectives, our DLP participants are poised to make a difference. DCHR holds a year-round cohort and a summer cohort to reach as many students as possible. As with the apprenticeship program, many DLP graduates become full-time district employees who rise through the ranks of district government. Another key initiative that attracts the best and brightest to the district is the Capital City Fellows Program. The Capital City Fellows Program is a nationally recognized program that draws on recent graduates of master's degree programs in public administration, public policy, urban planning, social work, and related fields to work for district government. Participants referred to as fellows complete 3 6-month rotations in different city agencies or 3 different departments in the same agency. Through the program, fellows work to meet the challenges of local government public service while focusing on managerial development. To expand on our impact beyond schools and provide professional development opportunities to the greater DC community, DCHR and the DC Public Library relaunched our partnership in FY23 to provide in-person classes on resume writing and interviewing. During these sessions, residents learned how to apply for district government jobs, receive valuable feedback on their resumes, and practice their interviewing skills. We host these classes every month at libraries across the city, and we encourage all residents seeking employment to take advantage of this opportunity. If you want to work for the district government but don't know where to start, if you have been applying to jobs and you're not hearing back, if you've sat down for interviews but didn't quite get the job, these classes are for you. Without growth, there is no life. While we provide many opportunities for those outside of the district government, we cannot forget to continue to invest in the growth and development of our workforce so that we may best serve our residents. DCHR gives our employees opportunities to expand their skills through in-person training, development programs, and e-learning. DCHR continues to provide employees at all levels with various professional and personal development courses. Our Center for Learning and Development provides courses such as communicating strategically, 7 levels of professionalism, emotional intelligence, and unpacking bias. In addition, our Benefits and Retirement Administration provides over 20 monthly growth opportunities through our wellness trainings. These classes focus on an employee's full wellness and includes topics such as the science of happiness, preventing digital burnout, introduction to mindful meditation, and coping with stressful triggers. DCHR also partners with the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking to provide various financial literacy courses to better prepare employees in building wealth and remaining financially secure. These courses are thought-provoking and expose employees to new topics and ideas. Participants not only learn from the instructors, but from each other, and often an informal peer network is created. Current employees can advance their professional development through our Certified Public Manager or CPM program and our executive leadership programs. CPM is a nationally accredited program designed to enhance the skills of district government managers and provide them with the tools to be more effective leaders. Academic rigor is brought to the program through strategic partnerships with the George Washington University, as well as renowned government, nonprofit, and private sector practitioners who bring the best of leadership and management theory and practice to the classroom. Graduates of the program are prepared to serve as effective leaders that can effectively manage change, think strategically, and successfully lead programs and daily operations. The purpose of the Executive Leadership Program, or ELP, is to support the development of effective executive level leadership among members of the mayor's cabinet and their senior staff. In addition, this program aims to enhance the supply of executive level talent across the district by establishing a robust pipeline of cabinet ready leaders. Executives who complete the program can use their leadership assets to create organizational leadership climates which foster employee engagement, performance excellence, innovation, and sustained capacity building. Finally, DCHR realizes and recognizes that employees want to learn at any time from anywhere. In FY22, we launched a new e-learning platform, Percipio, that provides employees personalized learning suggestions which target their individual goals and learning objectives. Employees who complete the content within the new platform receive completion badges, and employees can share their accomplishments with colleagues and managers across the city. In addition, employees can access books, study guides, and participate in boot camps, such as the one needed to qualify for and take the professional program manager exam. Percipio gives DCHR and hiring managers across the district government the ability to see the new skill sets gained by our employees to better find talent that aligns with the government's service needs. Jobs and job training are crucial pillars to a thriving community, empowering residents with economic stability, opportunities to grow, and the skills needed for an ever brighter future. We remain committed to our mission to grow the growth of our residents and to our employees. I want to thank you, Councilperson Bonds and the committee and your council colleagues and staff for the opportunity to provide highlights of the great work that DCHR does. and to grow district residents and employees. And I, of course, am available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. To the public, that completes our executive witnesses today, but we have a zillion questions, of course, but I think that their testimony was extremely robust and answered many of the questions, and we appreciate that. I know it took a little time, but it was very important for us to really review the robust work that is being done throughout the system. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask the Deputy Mayor Kine, how do you coordinate how do you coordinate the education and workforce products? It seems like they may be generated within their silos. I heard some coordination from agency to agency, but tell us a little bit about that. And the reason I ask is I want us to understand the important work, but want us to understand how the public has access points for participating in the various programs, and access points that will lead to opportunities where they will be in the jobs market. We've heard a lot of words today, in other words. So I just want to make sure that we zero in on what's there, how do you access it, and really why in some instances, like we heard about the city lab and what have you, things like that, that seem to be open to pretty restrictive for the most part, for those who are looking for jobs in the district. And I'm sorry, I just see Councilmember White, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge him, Councilmember Robert White. So Deputy Mayor, could you just hold on that, and let's give Councilmember Robert White an opportunity to have a moment. Councilmember?
Thank you so much,
Over to you.
Chairperson Bonds. I'm glad to be with you. This is a great hearing, so I appreciate you putting this together. I don't have a statement. I do have questions, so if you let me know when is the best time, and I will jump into those.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's what a smart colleague does. Okay. Thank you. So, Deputy Mayor, if you could sort of help us to understand, how we have programs, an abundance of programs, and some are very much earmarked for neighborhood and for people who are looking for jobs that are not in the job market. And we also have a way of getting them into the job market. And then there are those that are where we're sort of like recruiting, talent, like for the federal city, no, it's the city, there are a couple of programs. I don't have my script here, so I'm just trying to remember some of the important pieces that were mentioned. And I know Mr. Hall mentioned some of the things that we do for employees that are already in the system, that are already in the DC government system. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. I heard lots of good questions in your overview there, and thank you for putting this together. Councilmember White, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Let me try to take the three kinds of questions that I heard from you and respond to them. Firstly, you asked the question about how we coordinate, and I think that is an absolutely vital question. We have a system right now which has an extraordinary number of moving parts across workforce. As I mentioned in my testimony, we actually got programs to the tune of about $140 million sitting in 15 different government agencies. We know the largest, of course, is the Department of Employment Services, but we have DHS, DSLBD, and many others that actually do this work. And that, I believe, is the crucial and important role of the Workforce Investment Council to ensure that we have this deeply coordinated system at the level of the goals that we set, at the level of the programs that we implement, and very importantly, at the level of the residents that we're aiming to serve. So in terms of actually driving the coordination, that happens at 3 different levels. Firstly, it will come as no surprise that the leaders of these different agencies have got to get together and align on the priority work that we're doing together, which is something that we are starting to do more and more regularly. Secondly, we have got to be aligned at the level of our staff work. And so there are countless moments of intersection across and among agencies as we determine the right path forward. And thirdly, and this is something that my office has been particularly interested in, it is absolutely vital that we're coordinated around 2 things. One is the populations of residents that we're striving to serve. And secondly, the good jobs that we have available in the city. And if you think about our workforce system, its only role is to ensure that we are training residents that we actually have in the city, training the populations of residents that we have for the good jobs that we know we have now and will have in the future. And so that is a strategic act of coordination, which I believe will be and should be led by the Workforce Investment Council within my office. It's also a daily act of coordination among and across agencies as we look at the populations that we're serving.
All right, I appreciate hearing that. One of the, and we haven't gotten to the other 2 questions, I understand. I was just reading a note. I want to make sure that Councilmember White has an opportunity. Let's just think about that. Let that sort of settle, because you have really said a mouthful. If I am not mistaken, I am hearing that in this arena, this very important arena, where, let's say, last year, many people felt it was probably emerging as the #1 issue in our community. You know, for a few years, it's been housing. Now it's like, but in order to have housing, people have to have the work. They have to have the remittance in order to afford the housing, at whatever level. And so, but now, you know, I'm a little concerned when we talk about employment in the city, because it sounds like we are trying to reimagine what we need as we've come out of the pandemic, because some of the occupations we're most familiar with may not be as plentiful as they once were, but they're new opportunities. And so we're now also focusing on preparing an individual's mindset in order to go and be a part of the work world, is what I'm hearing. And in order to do that, we have to have it's almost like an umbrella process for all of that coming in. And then, of course, not every agency should be doing the same thing. You know, we might want to diversify. Is that what I kind of heard?
100%. And I think that we've got, firstly, lots of different sources of funding in the city, which actually leads to some of the diversity of programming, and importantly, lots of different populations. So our agencies are deeply specialized in serving particular populations of residents and meeting them where they're at. And we have to sustain all of that. There's got to be room for this kind of innovation and specialization. At the same time, we have to agree on what jobs are available, and not just what jobs are available, but what jobs are actually really important stepping stones on the path to middle income careers. And there's lots of research done on this. We have good projections. We've got hot jobs lists. We've done lots of national research on what are the kinds of entry-level jobs that actually can lead to better paying jobs that actually form the beginning of a career, as opposed to those that feel more like so-called sandbox jobs or jobs that don't. And so collectively, we've got to ensure that we've got the skills and quality training provision, both within our agencies and amongst our grantees, as you heard earlier from some of the very compelling public testimony, to get residents into good jobs, regardless of their starting point. And in many instances, despite the barriers that they face, we have to do all of that.
No, thank you. I am going to turn, if you don't mind, turn to my colleague, Robert White. I understand his staff is being willing to tell us that he has to leave us. And so, Councilmember White, you're
Thank you
on.
so much, Chairperson Bonds. I really appreciate it. I have a parent-teacher conference today, so I appreciate it and really want to thank the government witnesses. I'm going to focus really on primarily career and technical education. Deputy Mayor Khan, how many CTE participants between DC Public Schools, DC Public Charter Schools, and the Advanced Technical Center, how many CTE participants obtain industry certifications each year?
That's a very, very good question. We've got, as I'm sure you know, something like 40 or 45 different career and technical education programs of study that we offer across all of our schools. And not all of them lead to industry recognized credentials or IRCs, but I think something like 30 of them do. And so we do see it as a very, very important component of our provision of career and technical education that we are providing as appropriate those industry recognized credentials. I mean, in terms of the actual numbers of students that get them, I don't think that I have that. I'll just check my notes here. But that's a number that we know, and I can certainly provide it to you, Council Member.
I appreciate it. Yeah, if you would get it to me through the committee, I would appreciate it. And so it would be the number of programs that offer industry certifications and the number of students, let's say over the past 3 years, that have received those certifications.
Yeah, we'd be glad to do that.
Perfect. For the Advanced Technical Center, is that exclusively for people under the age of 18, or does that include adult learners as well?
The Advanced Technical Center, which is, as you know, something we're very proud of and excited about, is specifically for students enrolled in our public high schools.
Okay.
And the reason that it's such a compelling proposition, I think, for us is it's designed to provide access to very high quality career and technical education training in 2 areas, nursing and cybersecurity. And it provides access in a way that not only gives you career and technical education credits, it also gives you college credit. So it is a dual enrollment opportunity, and it is literally open to any public high school student in the city. So no longer as a high school student do you only have to take CTE programming offered in your school. You can actually travel now to the CTE and get fabulous CTE programming and college credit in those 2 high demand areas. It's been a big, big success, and we're hoping to continue to expand and grow that work.
Excellent. So how many participants out of the total CTE participants receive job placements post-graduation?
That's a good question, and one that we actually don't have a good way to understand. I will take this moment to share with you. It's the reason we're so incredibly excited about our education to employment data system that we're standing up, because this is a system that will link OSSE's student longitudinal data system with our workforce systems, including our unemployment insurance system. And the reason that's important is we have no good way of understanding the career outcomes of anyone that we train, either coming out of our high schools or our training provisions now. We rely on entities, agencies, grantees, schools to follow up with their alumni effectively and just ask the question, are you working? And as you can only imagine, that gives you very limited data. Whereas when we connect these systems, according to specific individuals, of course, with all due respect in accordance with privacy laws, when we connect the systems, we're actually able to understand what CTE program, what CTE intervention actually causes students to have better outcomes, both in the post-secondary arena, but also in work. So it's our hope, we're in the first year of building the system this year, as you know, it's our hope that we will very soon be able to provide some preliminary analysis of our CTE participants and where they end up.
Great. And are there any specific partnerships or collaborations with local businesses or industries to enhance the prospects of employment post graduation or certification?
Well, there are many, many things that we do. In fact, it's done a lot through the Workforce Investment Council. The Department of Employment Services has an entire talent bureau focused on this, where we literally go to employers around the city and we ask them several things. The first thing we often ask is, will you be able to house our interns? And I think you heard in Director Morris Hughes's testimony the extraordinary number of employer partners that we have that do that. I think it's probably fair to say that in almost all cases, they're also interested in whether or not they can sustain the employment of some of those young people and sustain the relationship. We've got lots of folks who repeat summer to summer or school year to summer and then beyond. So we certainly do a lot of work with employer partners to try to promote not just internships, but also the job attainment. Secondly, we're now providing lots of additional supports for the young people themselves in the form of coaches. This is happening across our public school system. DCPS has a program devoted to this, where we're actually trying to ensure that you've got some post-graduation success. And we understand that for many young people, they actually need coaches who serve as mentors, who help remove barriers, and do other things to basically support their post-secondary journey, whether that be in work or into the workforce training system or into the college environment. So it's called DCPS Persists, and those coaches actually provide the service. There are several examples of how public charter schools also provide the similar kind of service. So we're trying to do it in both ways, get the employers signed up and engaged, but also ensure we've got the supports for the students directly.
I appreciate that. The last thing with respect to adults, when participants go through OSSE's Adult and Family Education Program, do they get industry certifications or job placement at the end of that?
Yeah, the goal of that particular program, which is very innovative and follows a lot of good national best practice, the goal of that program is that it's very focused on job attainment. And so the idea is that they get certification and get placed in jobs. And again, I don't actually have the numbers here, Councilmember White, but I'll be very glad to provide you with what we know about the success of those programs, which would be the certifications provided, the number of participants overall, the certifications provided, and then what we know about the job placement. The reason that program is so important is it intertwines skill development and adult basic skill development with job preparation. So as you know, one of the challenges we face in our system is we have many, many residents who want to get access to training, and they'll show up to get training. They'll take the CASAS exam to test their reading and math scores, and they'll score too low to get access to a number of our training providers. The OSSE program, and this exists in some other places as well, including some number of DOES grantees, the OSSE program actually puts them into a program which provides the basic training alongside the job training skills. So it basically is this innovative model that says we can actually do both together. So you don't have to choose to go and take a literacy class or a numeracy class before you do your training. We can actually do it together. So nationally, it's got great outcomes. It's very evidence-based, but we will get you the numbers from DC.
I appreciate it. And for that class, do they assist with hurdles like childcare or things like that?
Yeah, all of the providers work, to my knowledge, all of the providers work to actually help participants overcome those basic barriers: transportation, childcare, and so on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor, and to all the government witnesses. Chairperson Bonds, thank you so much. You've been incredibly gracious as always, and thank you for holding this very important hearing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your important questions. Now we will let you go and be with your children, see what's going on with them. That's important for sure. And now we'll continue with you, Deputy Mayor, to talk a little bit about the programs. As I said, in my opinion, a lot has been said today about the cover of programs and opportunities that may be there. And I was wondering if we can begin to narrow it down, thinking about the type of individual that might be looking for, I'll say first, a job, starting at the very basic level. You heard from Mr. Weaver, one of our public testimony today, indicating how difficult it is for our returning citizens who may have a skill. And of course, when I asked him what particular skills were they thinking of, he said, we can do everything. So let's think of those who say they can do everything and who are not necessarily thinking that they have to do the trash. I think he mentioned that, so.
Yeah, thanks for that important question, which I know you came at a little bit earlier around points of access. And I think here in DC, we're lucky because we've got some national institutions and nationally funded parts of our system which actually help support that. First and foremost, we have our American Job Centers. And those are places, as you know, Council Member Chairperson Bonds, where any resident that wants to walk in those doors will get access to very specialized support based on their interests and needs, and referrals to a whole plethora, as you say, of job training programs. But that's where you can meet with effectively a case manager who will sit down and understand your specific circumstances and needs, anything from resume development to letter writing to interview skills, all the way through to the specific kind of work that you're looking for, the skills that you've got, and so on. So our American Job Centers are great places to start. In addition to that, we've got a couple of tools that are deployed across our system, including DC networks, and also, and Executive Director Hubbard might want to talk about this, My Journey DC is the place the Workforce Investment Council is trying to bring together a number of these. I'll mention briefly also that this was a real need during the pandemic. And this is the reason that the mayor decided to fund Career Coach DC, which was a very successful program where we stood up with a partner, tens of new coaches who worked with, I think it was in the end, over 3,000 residents to provide this kind of direct coaching as they tried to figure out their own next steps in that very, very difficult moment. And so part of that was to take the skills that we learned, the materials that we developed for that program, and use them to directly train across government all of our frontline workers who basically engage with residents around job attainment. And so we've got the American Job Centers, we have Career Coach DC, My Journey DC, and of course DC Network. But if you would permit Executive Director Hubbard to talk about My Journey, I'm sure he would be thrilled to.
Yeah.
All right.
As I mentioned before, My Journey DC is really our deliberate attempts to have a tool where there's no wrong door. The entry points that you mentioned, it's critical that folks who are looking to access these resources do not just get discouraged because of lack of entry points, as you mentioned. And My Journey DC is one of those tools that complements the virtual one-stop system, the brick and mortar one-stop locations. But it can be self-directed, but it can point you towards those different tools, including, what am I actually looking for? What is it? What type of job will lead me really from entry point towards a career in that field? Looking at important things like resume writing support, that coaching support, so that folks may not know where to even start in this journey, but this gives them, like I said, a very accessible entry point into the system at a general point, but then it specifically points them to the resources across the system. You heard the Deputy Mayor talk about all of the different resources across our system. It's daunting to navigate 15 different agencies, and you may not know where to even start. So this is really that kind of really baseline tool that residents can really access the different offerings. At the end of the day, our goal is that we have one unified system. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you, residents don't care what acronym gives them the services. They just want the services and the support to get them into their career path. To really echo and look at the earlier conversation about CTE, we've taken steps really even to map the CTE infrastructure into our career maps also. So it's making that road, that pathway reasonable, transparent, and easy to navigate for our residents.
So am I hearing that if I may be basic, that is, I haven't had a job, I want a job, and but let's say if I say I want a job in IT and I have some understanding of technology, is there another entry point for me, or would I go into My Journey or the Career Coach or American Job Center?
I mean, the fact that they're complementary, they should be able to get an entry point at all those that you mentioned.
Okay, so in other words, the 4 places you mentioned, American Job Center, My Journey, Career Coach, and DC Network, those are ways for anyone who is looking for employment.
With one caveat now, Career Coach has really moved into my Journey DC.
Oh, it's a part of it now. All right, okay. So it's 3 entries.
That we're talking about today, yes.
Yeah, okay. I can walk into American Job Center. I can online do My Journey and online do DC Network. Correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right.
And I wanted to give one additional plug if I could, because I think it's important for residents who might be interested also in working for DC government to understand they can go to DCHR. And as you know, we have a workforce of about 35,000. We're constantly looking for folks in all domains. I'm sure Director Hall would be happy to talk about this, but it's another great source to go directly to the employers. And DCHR can also help support folks' journey through and into those jobs as well. So the large employers can be very, very helpful.
All right, Mr. Hall, I know you're going to talk to us a lot about what DC employees can do. So if you would hold your comments till then, what I'm trying to do is categorize what I hear from community. Those that I don't have a job, I don't know, help me get a job, that person, which I think you've described their entry point. Those that are working or have worked, maybe laid off, worked for major, contractor laid off, what do they do? And that's where I'm at. That's what I consider the secondary workforce. Those that want to return again, may have some skills, have some ideas, graduated from college, just out there and no job. I think one gentleman told me he had sent off 50 resumes and no job. So what would be the best advice for that group of individuals? Where do they go?
Yeah, so I think it will depend a little bit on how specifically they understand or know what job they're looking for. Because if you know exactly the job you want, then you can take advantage of any of the resources that we talked about in order to get connected to specific training or upskilling in those fields. And also, you'll be aware of things like UDC's workforce program, which offers specific kinds of training and upskilling as well. So if you know you want to move forward in the HVAC arena, if you know you want to move forward in IT, if you know you want to become a nurse practitioner or a nurse, then you'll be aware of some of the publicly funded training provision that you can just jump right into. That's your front door. If you're less certain, that's where the resources that we were just describing become very important. So the American Job Center staff and team can actually help you define the kinds of paths that might be most suitable for you based on your skills, experiences, and interests. My Journey DC is intended to be individualized for those folks who, again, will discover the paths that are open to them based on their experiences and and resumes and so forth. So it's the same set of resources, but the more you know, the more specific you can be in your own search.
And if I might, I would add just one more point to that too. If you look at the online resources, they tend to be more self-directed. Walking into an American Job Center, you're getting that direct input from a district government employee that is charged with helping you navigate the system directly. So if you're more comfortable, as the Deputy Mayor said, with I just need a few things I'm looking for, I can navigate the resources myself using the online resources. But if you need more of a broader or more intensive look, it's probably more incumbent on the residents to actually go in person to American Job Center.
And when you go over to UDC, you would be going because you want to enrich your knowledge, take additional credits, or is that what is that how you would use UDC?
I mean, you could use UDC in one of three ways. Firstly, if you are interested in specific occupational skills training or job training, you can go to the campus in the old Congress Heights building and sign up for workforce classes in the areas that they offer: IT, nursing and health sciences, some of the mechanical trades like HVAC. So you can go there and just sign up for the classes, take the classes, get some credentials, and also help in attaining jobs. If you're interested in pursuing higher education, the community college is a great place to go. And that, of course, you would get community college credits. You could attain an associate's degree for some jobs that require those higher level credentials. That's a good place to go and work through. And thirdly, of course, if you want to get a BA, UDC is a terrific option as well.
Okay. All right. And so now we can talk, Mr. Hall, about what happens to our workforce. What are their options? I'm trying to categorize this so that it's little packets that people can walk away with. Okay.
So can you expound a little bit about what you mean by what are their options?
Yes, please.
As it relates to job opportunities or professional development?
All right, well, let's talk about job opportunities first set, and then the second set would be how do they embellish themselves?
Got it. So positions are posted on our careers page as well as together.dc.gov. And all positions that are open that we are aware of are posted. You'll also find some job positions that are posted on agency pages as well. So employees are able to actually look at the website and see what positions are available. Also, one of the things that frequently occurs is persons may be aware of positions in their agency and could be asked to assume a position on a temporary basis just to see if that would be a good fit for them. And so there are job opportunities that are available to employees at all times as long as it's open, and employees are able to go through the regular application process and interviewing process for those job openings.
And for those who are already in a job and they want more, they can do more. They feel they're very qualified.
Yes,
and yet they want to enrich themselves. And perhaps they are wondering why the new deputy director came from Chicago, and then they have to train that person for 3 months, and why didn't they have a chance? And they've been there for 15 years.
Yes, so I think that it's a case-by-case basis to know whether or not we'd be able to say if they had a chance. Also, we need to keep in mind that persons, if they are interested, we encourage them to apply for positions. And if they have the skill set and the capacity and interview and are believed to be a good fit, then they are viable candidates for the positions. I also want to keep in mind that what we also want to do is, we want to make sure that we can fill positions with the high quality, high performing persons that we know are going to serve the residents of DC to the best of their ability. And so there is I think an important key factor to remember that one, positions that are posted are available. If you're interested, you should apply. Also, connecting that to professional development opportunities, there are, again, professional development opportunities offered through DCHR that we want people to make sure that they're taking advantage of. So, there's an application process for DLP or for capital city fellows, but we also encourage persons to take part in ELP to make sure that they consider the certified public managers program. Those things are opportunities to actually build not only your skill set, but also your ability to connect and network with people. And sometimes you find out about opportunities by just having that network of persons. So it's not just job opportunities, it's also ensuring that you build your own capacity and skill set, taking advantage of those trainings that are available through Precipio. All of those things are going to help not just build your capacity, but if you're interested, it's going to show that you've taken ownership of your own development to better yourself and be a more qualified and competitive candidate for job openings.
Mr. Hall, you know where I'm headed on this issue. I hear from employees that feel they will never have an opportunity to get a promotion. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so are you sharing with me unofficially that if a employee partakes of the professional opportunities, they would have a better chance of an opportunity for promotion?
Well, I think it's a couple things. One, I think that building your skill set is always something that you want to be engaged in, because you make yourself more marketable by building your capacity, building your skill set, building your knowledge set. And so it's not just if you want a promotion, but period, as a professional, I think that is something that we would encourage persons to do. Also, I think that what I would not say is that persons who don't engage aren't viable candidates for promotions. In my time here for the last couple of months, I've seen persons being promoted within agencies or across agencies. And so I think it's really about making sure that you have a career plan and path, that you are considering what is the position that you'd like to go into, and have you taken an opportunity to sort of, if you don't have the requisite skills, to obtain those skills through training, through setting up networks with people to make sure that you can talk to them about what they would suggest or recommend you have if you're interested in getting a promotion in your agency or in another agency. And I also think that it has to do with, managers and supervisors having professional career ladder conversations with their employees to know what are your career goals? How can I help you? How can I assist you with getting there? All of those things are going to contribute to a person being a more viable candidate for promotion.
Well, we could talk about the managers that don't seem to have those skills and do not engage with their employees, but we're not going to go there today. I just want to have an understanding of the standards that we have in this government so that employees will have an opportunity to move forward and to not be in a situation where one lady told me she's trained 5 managers, and 2 went on to be heads of agencies in other parts of the government. And so I'm not suggesting that this is an isolated situation. I hear it a lot. And I'm just trying to understand. I want it to be clear to the public. If we have a closed society, let's deal with it. If it isn't, what are our standards? What can people do who are in a job for 15 years and training their managers, and the managers move on and the person is still there?
Yeah.
What is the opportunity for upward mobility?
Yeah. Yes, so the opportunity for upward mobility definitely exists within district government.
Okay, and we have standards.
And we do have
You'll share
standards
those standards with me.
as it relates to what it takes to get a
Some
promotion.
basic things that you would be looking for
Yes.
from anyone who wants to be promoted.
Yes.
I think that's a fair question.
Actually, if I can just offer one observation, having been in city government a little bit longer than Director Hall,
Yes, of course.
the standards that we operate from in terms of promotion live within DCHR's performance plans that every government worker needs to adhere to and is reviewed against. And those are very, very clear, and I think very, very good. They also allow managers to add based on the specific circumstances of specific roles about things they're looking for. And really, those are the tools that we've established across government that set the standards that I think you're describing,
Correct.
Chairperson Bonds.
I am using that, and those standards, I don't know what to say to folk who say for 8 years in a row, I've got an outstanding standard result and nothing happens. That's where I am. And I'm very concerned because our committee is also looking at return to office work. And that seems to be one of the areas that people want to explore. You know, maybe I don't. I've even approached the thought of when we look at that, we're also looking at, you know, what is honest pay for an honest day of work? So we have a lot of issues to explore with our employees. So I was just trying to pull it out if it's there for today. But I thank you, Mr. Hall. No hard feelings, I hope.
None at all. And I would just say that, again, to reiterate the point about making sure that we don't generalize it, for each person who's trying to get a promotion, there's a position description that they're trying to fill that's acquainted with or associated with the position. So it's imperative that the person ensure that when they see the position description, it's not just about having trained a manager on a couple of steps or a couple of responsibilities, but ensuring that they fit that position description. So going back to, connecting it with professional development, if there are skills that are going to be required in that position description that you do not possess, that's where professional development can come into play. Or, even we've been talking about UDC, getting additional skill sets and learning that will position you to actually be a viable candidate for it. So it's on a case-by-case basis for sure. It's going to be based on the position description. Yes, there is a piece that the manager plays, but we've got to make sure that the person understands that there is a position description that details and outlines what we're looking for in the candidate who will fill this position.
All right, thank you very much. I'll let that be. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, can you talk to us a little bit about the, you mentioned the expansion of school year and advanced internships to serve 1,300 students. Can you talk a little bit about the internships program, please?
I'd be very, very happy to. And this is another good example of interagency coordination. The internships actually exist in 3 different components. 2 are directly linked to our career and technical education provision in schools, and 1 is not. So through our Office of the State Superintendent of Education and their CTE leadership, we have 2 specific work-based learning or internship opportunities available to students. One is a year-round internship, which we have recently established, where students can go to their job site during the school year for between 8 and 12 hours, and they will get support with transportation, but they will also earn high school credits for that internship, which is really extraordinary. And in some cases, get a stipend for it as well. And that's available to students who are taking their 4th career and technical education class in a series of classes. So these are the ones who are concentrating in a particular area like health sciences or IT. And so that internship is linked to their course of study, and it bears credits as well. So that has grown. We started it 2 years ago, and it's grown again this year. I think we're anticipating something like 350 students over the course of a year engaging in that.
All right.
We also have a summer program that is linked to your CTE coursework as well, where you go for 6 weeks to an internship if you're in your 3rd course of study in CTE. And then, of course, you heard Director Morris Hughes talk about the DOES school year internship, which is open to anybody, regardless of what they take, which has up to 1,000 young people in it. So we've collectively got that series of internships available to youth.
All right. And so for where you have the 350 students, is there a particular manner in which they or program that they participate in order to be in the career technical program that gives them transportation and college credit?
Yeah, this particular one gives them transportation and high school credit.
Oh,
So-
high school.
And that's what's very innovative about this, because typically your internship when you're in high school is something you do because you want to learn about the job, but it doesn't bear credit. In this case, it actually counts towards your 24 credits needed for graduation. So it's a big deal. And yes, the program of study that it's limited to is you have to be a CTE concentrator in one of the areas of career and technical education offered in the high schools. And you have to be in your 4th course. And so once you're a CTE concentrator in your 4th course, then that opens up to you. We have this year, I think the application pool, I think about 600 young people applied, and just over 500 or so were eligible because they were in that moment in their CTE progression. And so that's how you gain access to this.
And you mentioned that this is not only a robust program, but one where the students seem to be doing well. You have more that want to participate. You're going to talk to me about what it would take to expand the program. I'm interested in learning the programs and knowing those that are really making a difference, where we have strong participation and the participation can translate to joining the adult work world as it relates to our youth programs.
Yes, and I appreciate so much that you bring that both passion and enthusiasm and mindset, because career and technical education is an area of our secondary work, our high
Yes.
school work,
Yes.
that is becoming more and more important, because when we look to see its impact, we see higher rates of attendance. We typically see higher graduation rates from high school, and you're able to make these industry connections and career pathways in a way that doesn't exclude college. These are all also preparing you to go to college if you choose to do that. And if you choose not to, it just gives you another avenue to find yourself in a good, well-paying career. And so we will continue to talk about career and technical education, I'm sure. And the expansion of these things, we think, will be an important part of our overall secondary program.
All right, you say we'll continue, so we'll be moving to oversight, at some point in a few months, and then to budget. When we talk budget, we're talking about resources. This morning, we heard from one particular program that was very clear that they wanted more resources. I know that's something that you don't really talk about now, but please be thinking along those lines, because we want to make sure if the program is working and engaging our young people, we want to make sure we have the resources there.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And the other things we want to do, and this is maybe outside of the scope of this particular hearing, but I think is relevant, we're also trying to ensure that we stand up more middle school opportunities for students to explore CTE courses. We are starting to do some CTE coursework directly in middle schools, but we're also ensuring we do more job exploration. And it's one of the reasons it's so exciting to have education and workforce housed within one cluster, because we continue to ensure we've got these points of connection and intersection. And if we think about a human being's pathway into a wonderful life, it's going to involve all of this different work that is collectively pulled together. So I appreciate the line of questions.
Yeah, we're going all over the boardwalk, but it's all about ultimately, how do I take care of myself in this modern society of the District of Columbia? So thank you very much for that. I see we have been joined by Dr. Morris Hughes, Department of Employment Services. And I know that there are so many opportunities for young people through her agency. So if you want to add to the conversation, we're talking about career technical education and how the programs that we have across the government can help to relate to getting young people in these programs so that they can, well, thrive. Okay.
Yeah, you know, our beloved Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, I think, is one of the strongest entry points that we have into the world of work. And it's one of the places that we all collaborate on, even you, Chairwoman, because you've helped us connect employers to SYEP opportunities. And so I think we all collectively can agree that the coordination that is taking place between all of the agencies in the workforce system and making young people one of our top priorities and goals, we will continue to see improvement and upward advancement in terms of young people being connected to careers and opportunities. You know, also the high school internship program, like I had mentioned in my testimony, 1,000 young people. We started October 2nd. We have more employers than we do slots. So the demand is there. Also, we're really proud of youth apprenticeship. We have grown that to 9 partnering high schools. DCPS has been a wonderful partner. IDEA Public Charter School has also been a wonderful partner. And really the untold story there is that all of these 9 schools, both charter and DCPS, are working together. And so we'll have students from the charter school going to the DCPS site and vice versa. And again, if that partnership didn't exist between DCPS and Dr. Farabee, who has really been a great support. Every time I call him and say, I need this, he says, okay, unique. And so we really align on what's best for young people. So we have some synergy, but I'm proud to say that that coordination and centering on young people, I think we are seeing the fruits of our labor there.
And so that coordination, is that something that is official? In other words, have they branded themselves as this council that's doing this kind of work? We meet quarterly, we meet weekly.
So so I would say it is formal. I mean, we do have MOUs and MOAs in place. We also have other sorts of youth apprenticeship agreement. In terms of youth apprenticeship, we have agreements that are in place. And there's a lot of collaboration at the staff level, as you can imagine, to get 1,000 young people into jobs, you know, a couple hundred young people into apprenticeships. I mean, the staff are talking every single day. So I think there's a healthy amount of collaboration that's taking place. And it's formal, I would say.
All right. And so this program, you say you have more employees looking for an intern. So how many employees do you have?
So I think we currently have 70 employers for 1,000 slots, and we have more opportunity for jobs than we actually have slots. I'll have to find out what the waiting list number is and follow back up with that.
Yeah, we want to fill those. If any young person has interest, we want to capture that and get them engaged in a very wholesome way within community. It's the way I look at it. Thank you for that. Dr. Hubbard, is there anything you want to say about youth and internships? I want to put it on the record.
Well, you're just giving me all the promotions today.
Well, you know, attorneys are kind of like,
Kind of a doctor.
kind of. Yeah, you know what I mean. You don't use that term. I can say, Mr. Hubbard, what is it, ESQ? Yes, no.
But I think this feeds in kind of to the larger question and discussion on employer-based training. Apprenticeship is one of my favorite models, and I've said that to the deputy mayor, to Unique, to you. I've come from that space in the past, but it's a very important part of the system that, frankly, the district has done a good job in expanding. If you look at years past, if you thought of apprenticeship, it was just construction. We are in areas now like IT, healthcare. We've just worked with the Hospital Association in that partnership, and they have an apprenticeship program that's going to launch in 24 for the different healthcare occupations. So really looking at the employer-based and earn while you learn models is one of the best directions we can get, especially for young people, especially to the point you made earlier about not having to choose between getting that skill up, getting that training, and putting food on your table through wages. So it's a very important part of the whole equation.
So you can venture into the private sector as well. And that's what the WIC is mostly concerned with, what employees say they need. Sounds like we may have an abundance of employees for this intern program, and we need now to identify the young people to take advantage of it. So that's through our schools, correct?
Yeah, but there is a financial piece here because we're budgeted in FY23 for 1,000 slots. And so we have filled, those slots. I think what we should be looking towards going forward is if we have private sector support to help fund some of those slots. And I do think that we would have some businesses that would come forward and would want to fund those slots. So that's something that we will continue to look at and work on over the next several months.
All right. And I think you indicated you'll check your waiting list to see what the numbers are.
Yes.
And so wouldn't it be wonderful if we had another 1,000 just waiting? And so that would make it easy determining what the resource need is, right?
Certainly, that's one way to look.
That's how I count.
To look at it. I see. I see.
All right. Okay. No, this is all very important discussion about, because it's our young folk that we really want to give them a fairer opportunity to be placed in modern society. And I hear kids always say, I got to have something in my pocket, got to have that. So that's really important. And even though we had discussions during the summer employment program about maybe, we're not giving them enough money and what have you, those who received it were very excited to be a part of it. And I just asked Kevin Chavis, who's up here from my staff, I said, you went through the summer program? Everyone I know says yes, they went through the summer program. So I say to young people, this can be your aspiration. You go through the summer program, you can be anything in the District of Columbia because we're here for you. So that's very important. I know today's hearing is about cheering also. It's about, making real what we are able to do and really thinking more about what else needs to be done and sort of separating things that don't work from those that work tremendously well, so that we can move the agenda a little faster throughout the community, and people have more sense that we're getting things done for their families and their households. So that's what we're coming. I also wanted to do a count today of really the number of vendors that we have that are participating with us. And the vendors I consider to be the business community that is participating with us in earnest, because if I'm not mistaken, I think in the District of Columbia, well, how many businesses do we have that operate in the District of Columbia?
You know, Chairwoman, I know a lot of things about workforce. I'm not sure I have the total number of businesses in the District of Columbia. I'll see if someone on my side could pull that very quickly.
Yeah, I can probably pull it from the last financial plan. That
Do you mean
gives us that number.
Sir, Chair, do you mean just general businesses or those that provide workforce training?
Oh, no, just general businesses, because I think we feel strongly that in order for the community to be whole, those who have certain mandates as a business, you want to be a part of the whole, and being a part of the whole, if you're a business, you would want to have a DC student intern. And I know Dr. Morris Hughes says, well, you know, we have limited resources, you know, taxes that we've collected, but I know that all businesses do charitable work. And instead of maybe a charity that's been longstanding recipient of your resources, perhaps you can begin to look at how you can take responsibility for a intern, a student intern, a young person, and give them the opportunity to grow and have and flourish in the community.
You know, to that point, and you know, following you know, where this discussion is going, we have been working with, and I know we're going to talk about First Source in the very near future, you know, at a hearing, but, you know, we've been working with the number of First Source employers on alternative plans that also include summer youth employment, and asking them to not only take on SYEP youth, but to provide and subsidize summer internships. This is a relatively newer discussion. It's something that we've started in FY 23. Oh, we're in 24 already. Oh my God. You know, we started in FY 23, but it's something that we've started. So we are thinking about the larger business community and ways that we can engage them with summer youth employment program, with a high school internship, and we'll continue to explore those opportunities with the private sector.
All right, that sounds great. And I'm sure from the WIC's perspective, galvanizing all of the business community to play a part. It's not just those who are there today, but it seems to me all of the, I think it's more than 30,000 businesses that we have.
I think so too.
Yeah, so 30,000, just think how magical could that be? And if you are large business, let's say more than 250 employees, maybe you could do a young person and you could also do an adult, or maybe 2 adults and a young person. And if your business is, let's say 800 employees, you could probably do 2 young people and 5 adults. That would really begin to make a difference in our community. giving folk an opportunity. And I say that because I was looking at a couple of the programs that we currently have here in government, like I think it was the Capital City Fellows, yes. And they published the photographs and what have you, and that's all great, but it's a few number of individuals, and most did not come through, matriculate through the District of Columbia. They were from other places that want to be involved in government. So how do I know the program we're doing with Howard and UDC, but how do we start early and get them ready so that they can participate at that level also? So that's also where my thinking is these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think the synergy and the connections we have with K-12 is one way to start them early, to get them, ready. Obviously through any of the workforce training programs that we have in the system, we are, providing that relevant occupational skills and essential skill training to get them ready for careers both in private sector and public sector.
Okay. We will look at closely at the expenditure guide, look at what that document tells us. Hopefully it will be updated periodically. It is about this wide. And I was wondering, is there any way we could get a paper copy? That would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about updating it, as you know, we're required to update it annually. The larger document is this wide, as you said, but there are some summary tables that can help you digest the different places the money is spent in different agencies.
And it also helps us to think about who are within the industries that are currently involved, and how can we get those that are in those industries that are not involved, get them on the list. Get them on the list. And for the public's consumption, this is really a list that articulates the vendors that are engaged with our government as it relates to jobs, expenditures, services that they provide in the way of workforce development. So I have a lot of questions, but I have to confess, you answer so many in your statement. You didn't go in depth, and I'm today not going to be picky, but I certainly have a better understanding of the programs and how they are kind of organized. What I am asking of the cluster, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that we really get a handle on who's doing what, and if it works that DOES is doing the so-called entry level and is the factory for generating new ideas based on what they learn from the programs that they manage, then we try to expand that as much as possible, have more of those kinds of programs that are working. I'm very hopeful that the WIC will, use most of its resources identifying the business community and hold them accountable to actually generating opportunities for the district and in the district as much as possible. Of course, there are plenty of jobs in the region, according to the region. We want some of those jobs as well. And we want those jobs to be counted within our vessel of information. But, doing this, and I applaud you for understanding and pulling together the nexus between education and employment. And I'm looking forward to the information that will come out of your database that you are putting together. What is your timeline on that?
We anticipate that the build is starting this year, and we know it'll take 2 years to build out the full education to employment system. And we know we'll start to generate insights this year. So we won't have the full thing, but we know that we'll have some insights.
And Dr. Hubbard, how are you positioning the WIC to reach out to the businesses?
Well, I mean, as you know, as you sit on the WIC, as mandated, it's majority folks from the business community that sit on that body. We want to make sure that, we have all those positions filled, have all those folks active and giving good input into our work, really to advance the system. But absent the board itself, to your point, we are going to spend a lot of time and effort doing more business outreach and engagement to better have a pool of folks ready to go with different initiatives, different things we want to do, than scrambling to try to find them.
It sounds like you may need a few business developers on your team. So I hope you're giving some thought to that. For
Also
sure.
plugging into the larger work that the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development does. As you know, there's a representative from DEMPIT on the WIC board too, and really plugging into the district's economic development activities to make those two areas align more succinctly.
Well, the Deputy Mayor for Education mentioned that there are 15 different agencies. Are the 15 agencies that are doing a workforce a part of the WIC, or should they be?
Not all are, and again, per WIOA, the WIC has to be majority business led, but those are formal partnerships. I think it's closer to 39, as I've been told, 39,000.
See, there you go.
But there are formal ways, and it's just like Dr. Morris Hughes said, we have MOUs with any number of those agencies, and the expenditure guide really lays out where those pools of dollars are and what they're for.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope the public has gained something from this, the knowledge of the various programs, how to enter into getting a job, that's for sure. And let's see how we do. I do want to ask about literacy. And that's OSSE's Adult Education and Family Literacy Programs. I know the partnership received $600,000 reduction in FY24. How is that going to impact that very valuable training, because literacy is the key?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very important question. And we talked a little bit about that program earlier, and I was trying to describe how the reason it's so powerful and so evidence-based in its approach is that it intertwines the literacy and basic skills development work with the job training. And so you're getting them both within the context of the same curriculum. It's not like you're taking a separate class and then going over to your job training class. This is one of the ways that we do literacy. The DC Infrastructure Academy itself has a long and I think good history of ensuring those who come and score low on the CASAS are actually referred to literacy training programs. That was paused, as many things were during the pandemic. But that's another place that we do this. And then, of course, our adult charter schools that do workforce development typically do that in the context of providing pre-GED literacy skills and pre-GED math skills. So they're working on the credentialing as well. So we literally do this for thousands of people across the city. In terms of the reduction you're describing at OSSE specifically, I don't know, but can find out if that has caused a reduction in the number of seats available to residents. So I will follow up with you on that specific question.
Yes, please, because I note that the FY24 budget is only $1 million. And seems to me 600,000 reduction would have a tremendous effect on the program. And we know that this is, like you said, it's just vital that we have this service. So we'll mark that too. We know that's important. Dr. Morris Hughes, tell me what's going on with Project Empowerment. People are very nervous for a program that has been around for decades and strong feeling it's been doing a good job.
Yep. So I believe we may be in our 22nd, approaching our 22nd, maybe 23rd year. The last few years have been hallmark years for us in terms of the number of people that we have served. I think what you're hearing from the training providers and even I think I heard a couple of participants testify today, is that they have a desire to keep the same service level that we have had the last couple of years. There was some adjustments or shifts in ARPA funding. And so we are going back to a pre-pandemic service level, which includes reducing the grant making and grants that we have available. What has been very promising is to see so many training providers with that have best practices, both in workforce and in traditional K-12, come together and really marry those best practices to provide workforce readiness training to Project Empowerment participants, especially our returning citizen community. So we've been really happy to see that. We find that to be a success, but because of the reduction and shift in ARPA funding, we've had to reduce the number of slots and grants that we'll make available.
So do you have any ARPA funding remaining?
We do have ARPA funding remaining, yes.
Okay, and do you have monies that you have designated to other programs?
Say a little bit more about what you mean. Do we have funding designated to other programs? You mean
I
in the
thought you were gonna
division?
Tell us, yes, I mean. to
Division of State
other-
Initiatives?
Yeah, other things, yes, within your.
So we do have ARPA funding for the agency. A lower amount of ARPA funding in FY24 than we did in 23. We have a small footprint of ARPA funding for Project Empowerment. I believe it's less than $1.5 million that we'll have going into 24. And then in the out years, we do not have ARPA funding.
Okay, but the ARPA money that you have now, it's dedicated, where is it? Where have you put it?
So we have ARPA funding in the Division of State Initiatives, paying for approximately 8 FTEs and serving approximately 150 people. And then we have ARPA funding in one opportunity to look here. Actually, I think the only ARPA funding we have left is in the Division of State Initiatives. We have exhausted the ARPA funding we've had in SYEP and in apprenticeship. So it's just the Division of State Initiatives, and it's to fund 8 FTEs and 150 participants, approximately $1.5 billion, approximately.
Yeah. Okay, so when we look at the budget for 25, we really may have to do some things. Okay.
I hear you.
Yes. Yes. One of the things we have to remember is that a program like what happens through our workforce efforts it not only provides the wherewithal for families to stay afloat, but it also kind of touches the mind and the spirit and helps people to believe and to hold on. And that's also very important. I mean, I talked about the kids who say, I gotta have the ching chang in my pocket, you know, in order to feel like, you know, I am somebody, to be very honest. So, and that can take us to what another committee here at the council is very concerned with, and that's public safety.
You know, we were recently awarded September 30th grants from the Department of Justice and Department of Labor. I believe roughly just under $900,000 for project empowerment to serve recently released and formerly incarcerated women at the halfway house for women here in the District of Columbia. And so as our ARPA funding footprint has changed and reduced, we are looking for other funding opportunities to grow and support the project empowerment program. So I want to put that out there. We're trying to be innovative and also get any additional funding that the feds may have to support our programming as well.
Thank you for that. That makes a big difference. Let me just check one. I know Dr. Khan, you have to leave in a minute. I got a note from your staff. What we think it's best is to take the different programs that we've discussed today and get back to you in writing to ask numbers of participants, you know, numbers that signed up, you know, to get the numbers correct and make sure that we have that in place. I think that's a better way because seems like you all are as bad as me in that when we start talking numbers, we start also doing the narrative and editorializing and what have you. And so I want to make sure that we have the numbers in the record that are accurate for each of the programs, helping us to understand what are the outcomes from the dollars that we spend.
Chairperson, if I may, I don't want to interrupt you at all, but I'll share with you, that is one of the goals of the expenditure guide, because it lists by program detail, numbers of participants, numbers of completers. We try to understand whether there are employment outcomes as well. And that shows you how spotty some of our data is.
Yes.
But it's a great place to actually start. And I think for us to include the expenditure guide in the record of this hearing is probably a good idea. And we can happily provide that to you because it does have numbers as well as we could attain them. And this year we'll have more and better numbers going forward.
That's very helpful. And yes, we've looked at the guide. We just wish that it could be categorized in such a fashion that we would, but it's very thorough.
Well, we would be very glad to take feedback from you and your staff.
All right.
So we'll follow up with you on that.
User friendly, yes.
We'll be happy to follow up on your ideas.
Yes. So the public knows it's over 3,000 entries. And so it's very text, you got to do it manually. And okay, thank you very much. Else, yeah, we did. And so, and Mr. Hall, I know you're still with us, and thank you very, very much. I just have one question, and we will send to you also follow-up questions. We're very curious about all of the job fairs that we have and trying to understand of the job fairs, how many participants attend these programs, and then what's the outcome? How many receive jobs? And what are the categories of jobs that they receive? Are they mostly customer service, or are they, technical, that kind of information? So we'll send an inquiry to you so that we can have that as a part of the record as well, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And I'll say to the members of the staff that want to testify, is that what I saw that uplifting look. No, just teasing you guys. Thank you to everyone who participated in today's roundtable. We have heard valuable information about a multitude of job training programs, and I believe gained a better understanding of how the agencies collaborate, work together on their priorities. If the public has any additional thoughts or would like to submit written testimony regarding the performance of these agencies, please submit it to the Council's hearing management system, or you can email it to CEAL@dccouncil.gov, and that's CEAL. The hearing record will close in 10 business days from today, which is Thursday, November the 2nd, 2023 at 5 p.m. And again, my thanks to everyone who participated today. And this concludes the hearing. And with that, the time is now 1:47 p.m. on October 19th, 2023, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. I hope it wasn't too painful.